Okay, you're live.
Great, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the San Ramon Valley Unified School District Board of Education meeting. We want the public to know that we are video recording this evening's board meeting. The recording is being live streamed on the district's YouTube channel, and a link to the recording has been posted to the district website. I'd like to introduce you to the board members right now. Vice President Ken Mintz.
Good evening, everyone.
Our board clerk, Rachel Hurd. And trustees Laura Brett.
Hi.
And Shelley Clark.
Good evening, everybody.
And I'm Susanna Ordway, your board president. Okay, so actually before we start our meeting, I'd like to say a few words to celebrate our reopening tomorrow for in-person hybrid classes for our youngest students. It literally will be the first day of school for our families who chose the in-person option, and with it, the excitement and anticipation that I and my fellow board members shares about. Our board has always been committed to bringing our students back physically to school, and we are so happy we can finally do so safely and responsibly. As I said in my first board meeting as president on December 15th, reopening of school is a community effort, and our community has stepped up and helped us get to this milestone. So I'd like to thank our families for your patience. I also want to let our families who chose to continue with remote learning know that we are still committed to staying focused on providing quality educational and support services for your students. We couldn't have come this far without the hard and wonderful work that has been done by our principals, teachers, counselors, librarians, nurses, and other certificated employees. We also appreciate all our classified employees like bus drivers and groundskeepers, and of course, to those in our district who have been working on site at all of our campuses since the school year started and have been helping us get ready for tomorrow. Kudos to our para-educators, our custodial staff, our office staff, our child nutrition staff, and other classified employees. In recognition of all the efforts, I'd like to invite Tammy Castelluccio, CSEA president, to help us open our meeting by leading the Pledge of Allegiance. Tammy.
Thank you, Susanna. If everyone will please stand. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. Okay, great. So let's see. 6.0, report of actions taken in closed session. There was no action taken in tonight's closed session. And then 7.0, acceptance of minutes. I see Denise Jennison is here to help us tonight. Denise, would you help us with our roll call votes?
Yes, I will.
Okay, thank you. Board members, may I have a motion to accept the minutes of January 25th, 2021?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Can have
Okay.
it, Shelley.
We have a motion made by Ken Mintz, seconded by Shelley Clark. Board member, Board member Bratt,
Yes.
Board member Clark,
Aye.
Board member Hurd,
Yes.
Board member Mintz,
Yes.
Board member Ordway.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously.
Okay, great. And then now may I have a motion to accept the minutes of January 26th, 2021?
I'll make the motion. I'll second.
The motion was made by Board member Bratt and seconded by Board member Hurd. Board member Clark,
Aye.
Board member Bratt,
Aye.
Board member Hurd,
Aye.
Board member Mintz,
Aye.
Board member Ordway.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously.
Great. Okay, 8.0, the agenda approval and consent. So 8.1, acceptance of our open session agenda. May I now have a motion to accept the open session agenda?
So moved.
Second.
The motion was made by Board Member Hurd and seconded by Board Member Mintz. Board Member Clark,
Aye.
Board Member Bratt,
Aye.
Board Member Hurd,
Aye.
Board Member Mintz,
Aye.
Board Member Ordway.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously.
Great. 8.2, approval of consent agenda. Consent items are considered routine in nature and are approved by combining them into one single vote. A member of the board or a member of the public may request that a consent item be removed from the consent agenda to be considered and voted on separately. If a trustee or a member of the public requests that an item be removed from the consent, it needs to be added to action beginning at 10.4. So at this time, is there any request to have a consent item be pulled? See, Greg, is there anyone?
If there's any attendee who wishes to request an item be pulled, please raise your hand. At this time, I'm not seeing any hands raised.
Great, thanks. So then may I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I'll motion to accept the consent agenda as submitted.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Board Member Clark and seconded by Board Member Bratt. Board Member Clark,
Aye.
Board Member Bratt,
Aye.
Board Member Hurd,
Aye.
Board Member Mintz,
Aye.
Board Member Ordway.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously.
Right, thank you, Denise. Okay, 9.1, African American History Month. And we have Ashley, Ashley Gutierrez, our equity coordinator, to help us with this.
Good evening, everyone, and happy Black History Month. The theme for February 2021 is the Black family, representation, identity, and diversity. So I'd love for us to start with a little bit of history of the origin of Black History Month. Black History Month was first proposed by Carter G. Woodson. It started as a week-long celebration in 1926 and was passed as a month-long resolution in 1976. I've heard in the months leading up to Black History Month this question of why do we even need to have a Black History Month? And I think Cassandra Dillard summarizes best when she says, perhaps there would be no need to observe Black history in a designated month if it were taught year-round, alongside with other histories as part of a regular curriculum. It wouldn't be such a novelty if there were a rigorous effort to view it as a central part of the American story. But we aren't there yet. Black History Month should be recognized as a crucial opportunity to broaden students' knowledge and help them see how the past connects with their lives today and how it's inspired movements for change. So we know that Black history is American history, and as we work to ensure that we have diverse narratives across all of our curriculum, celebrating and honoring Black History Month is a great place to start. The resources that we've compiled for this month focus really closely on diversifying the narrative that we normally hear for Black History Month. So we certainly want to honor historical figures like Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King, but we're also looking to illuminate the stories of those folks who we don't often hear about. For example, Claudette Colvin was a 15-year-old girl who refused to give up her seat on a bus 9 months before Rosa Parks engaged in her now famous act of resistance. And so on, you can see the stories of folks who are not often highlighted in Black history. So the resources that we've compiled for this month are really looking to expose these stories and give examples of resistance and Black joy that students can hopefully resonate with, students from all backgrounds. The benefit of sharing about Black History Month in the middle of Black History Month is that we can not only tell you what's in store for us in the remaining 2 weeks of the month, but we can also share the amazing things that are already happening across so many of our campuses. Cal High was deep in the work of Cal Cares Week, where they were combining both Words Matter Week and Black History Month into this single student curated multimedia experience that included lunch bunches and opportunities for students to engage in wellness together, as well as social media campaigns and other ways that they were honoring Black History Month, even though we're in this remote space. At Country Club, our principal, Christy Glazer, worked in a read aloud that she shared with all of her students. And at Stone Valley, they were super active on Twitter, sharing with their principals morning announcements via Twitter, so families could also participate. So there are plenty of activities happening across all of our schools, and we're really excited for folks to continue to share with us, and we'll continue to keep you updated on all the activities that happen throughout the rest of this month.
Great, thank you, Ashley. Oops.
Yep, and in conclusion, I wanted to just leave us with this quote from Desmond Tutu: "My humanity is bound up in yours, for we can only be human together." Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, I kind of popped in a little too early. But thank you so much. And it's wonderful to know all the great efforts and activities that, our school campuses are, are doing to recognize all the African-American contributions that has been over the years. I remember attending last year the African American Interactive, I think, History Museum, right, at Sycamore Valley, and it was fabulous. It was an awesome event. So thank you again for bringing that to us. Okay, 9.2, public comment for non-agenda items. Okay, as a reminder, public comment is limited to 3 minutes. Out of respect for our viewing audience, we will be concluding each speaker when their 3 minutes are complete. We will notify you when you have 30 seconds left, so you can wrap up your comments prior to 3 minutes cutoff. Also, I want to remind everyone that this is to comment on non-agenda items, and the board cannot respond to comments that are about topics not on our agenda for tonight. Please be aware that we may interrupt you and redirect you to the correct time to speak if your comment is directed at an agendized item. Okay, so Greg, if you can help us with our public comment.
Yes, so attendees, please raise your hand if you wish to comment on item number, as public 9.2 on non-agenda items. I will say there was one hand raised previously I'll start with, and then we have several other hands going up now. So first, and please state your name for the record, and then you'll have 3 minutes to share your thoughts. First up is call-in user 1. We are going to promote you, and then you will be able to say your thoughts. Just give me 1 second.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I've been trying to call to raise concern and to pull consent agenda from the consent agenda items, but your numbers were changed today. So I had to go back and check. I don't know why you changed the numbers that people usually call and the webinar ID. And so I wasn't able to do that. I really wanted to discuss about the consent item. I finally had it pulled by talking to Mr. Medici, and then you guys changed the number, and then that delayed me. So I would like to speak to consent agenda item specifically for today is 11.12, 11.13, and 11.14. Because of the technology issue, you cannot ding me for that.
Yeah, no. So if we're going to pull those, right? If they're going to pull those are going to start at 10.4, and we're at 10.2 right now. So we can pull it. We can pull them, but we will need to do that. You can speak on those starting at 10.4 4.
President
President
Ordway,
Ordway,
this is Greg Medici.
Yes.
The board has already acted on the consent agenda, but any member of the
Oh.
public is welcome to comment during this exact time, which Helen is available to comment to do so during this time. So I would suggest that any member of the public that wants to comment can place any comments right now.
And
For
President
the consent
Ordway,
agenda, that was for the consent agenda?
President Ordway, I'm just confirming that no numbers were changed for tonight. But as Mr. Medici said, by all means, you can hear the comment. But I do want to confirm for the public that no numbers were changed. It was the same number that we used in previous meetings. But again, back to you if the person would like to share their comment.
Okay.
Okay, okay, the webinar ID was changed from 8722-488-9092 to tonight is 842-0248-5430. There was a change. And also the numbers that I had to dial were different. Last time it was 346-248-7799. Tonight was 253-215-8782 or 669-900-9128. So there was a change. It took me about 10 minutes to go get these information and call. If you guys were going to change people accessing the meeting, you should have documented that in your notice on the agenda. Because we're in a remote meeting situation, this is very important. Otherwise, you're like locking me outside and won't let me in.
President Ordway, this is Denise Jennison, and I would just like to clarify that I posted the numbers for this meeting tonight. Last Friday, those meeting numbers were posted, including the meeting ID and the call-in numbers, and they have not changed since they were posted last Friday along with the agenda.
Okay, thanks, Denise.
Okay, when I say it was changed from last meeting.
Okay, it's
So
why don't you go ahead? Why don't you go ahead now that you're able to connect with us to talk about the consent item that you're.
Okay, thank you. So I just want to make sure I know the rule though for because there are 3 items. So for each item, I have 3 minutes. Is that how it works?
I think you have 3 minutes for all 3 items because it's
okay.
It's block. Yeah.
Okay. So for 11.2, consideration of approval for a new position for job description as the manager of data systems. As the general public, I would like to know why do we need this? What specific data system are we talking about? Because I know our reserve is dwindling. And also, I prefer as a parent that we make sure our reserve is for reopening of school and not on unnecessary, human resources. Because you guys just put it in consent agenda, we don't know why you're spending this money. Usually, that kind of position is very expensive. Also, the approval of COVID testing. I would like to know what kind of testing and where the tests are going to be bought, and who is Cure Diagnostics and who are Valencia Branch Laboratory? Why are you recommending these organizations to us? Are they private owned? Are they government? Is any one of you guys related to these people working there? These should have been discussed in the public agenda item, not as a consent agenda, in my opinion. For 11.14, considering adoption to send our school to the climate air quality standards, we're not a factory. I'm very confused why our school district needs to send people using our reserve money, to go to these kind of air quality meetings. And you really should answer my questions. That's why I'm asking. And if you guys decide to not answer my questions, these are just secretive items that you guys trying to slash or trying to make it go through secretively by not discussing the important information in front of the public. Thank you.
Okay, so I think at least a couple of those questions are really just our district staff, right, can answer some of those. And with regard to job description, the job description is in the consent agenda, so you have all that information about the the description and the amount that, you know, for that, that position and everything, all the information there, so.
I don't understand. I don't have that other than the fact that it is a data systems manager, but what data are we managing? Why do we need
Greg,
President
additional?
Woodway, with your
Yes.
permission, Ms. Helen, this is Greg from the business office. I'm happy to talk with you more offline. This is the public comment on non-agendized section. We're happy to have taken your input on the consent agenda. The board has now acted on that item. And again, I'm happy to talk with you offline and provide any information or any feedback that you'd like to convey. Thank you.
Okay, Greg.
Yes. Next up is Senora Sasson, I believe. I have you, I'll promote you so you can share your video if you wish. You have 3 minutes to share your thoughts.
Hi, this is Kristen Sison. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. Thank you. Hi, President Ordway, members of the board, Dr. Malloy, and members of the public. Thank you for your time and indulgence of my comments. My name is Kristen Sison, and I'm a proud member of SRVUSD. I have taught in the San Ramon Valley Unified School District for 14 years, and I am often praised for my sainthood when others outside my professional community learn that I am a middle school teacher. I get up at 5:15 a.m. to take care of my animals, feed my children Liliana and Xander, and prepare for my day. I am online with my students from the moment school begins until after the last minute of student support has passed. Some days, my cat Charlie and I battle for who gets the most camera time. Secretly, I think he wants to be famous. During my day, I care for my 167 7th and 8th grade students and their needs. We sing the alphabet, play with puppets, rap with grammar, complete ed puzzles, enjoy an episode of Pocoyo, read Huevos Verdes con Jamón, sometimes play a Kahoot or two, and learn a lot of Spanish. I have had to learn how to teach in a way I never imagined I would. When I have a quick break, I fix lunch for my own babies, prep dinner, and help with any homework they have. When school ends for the day, I often have other professional meetings to attend. Sometimes I do not step away from my desk until well after dinner time. I participate in the Grade Reform Committee and the Learning Management System team. I am a tech liaison. I am a union representative, a full-time teacher, a mom of 2 elementary kiddos, a wife, daughter, sister, friend, a lover of the Spanish language, and a really hard worker. Yes, I know I look totally dorky in my headset, but I bought it so that all my students can hear me clearly. And although I appreciate all the hard work that Ann Katzberg and Laura Finko do to represent my interests, they are not SRVUSD. I am SRVUSD. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Jordan Cummings. We will promote you and you can share your video if you wish. You have 3 minutes to say your thoughts. Please state your name for the record.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jordan Cummings, and I am a proud first grade teacher and a proud SRVUSD member. I just came on today to introduce myself to our community, to our board, and everyone who's listening. I am in my classroom every day with my students, whether that's in the physical building or our Zoom classroom. Every day we are learning, every day we are growing, every day we are solving problems. Again, regardless of the 4 walls around us or not, we are in our classroom. I am the one who you as a parent have to email at 8:30 at night because your student cannot wait until morning time to show me that they've lost their tooth. I am the one timing how many minutes we read throughout our school day because it's the readathon and we want to have as many minutes as we can and win compared to all the other classes for how much we love reading. I am the one logging on every morning and so excited to see their faces, racing to see who could be first to log on to the meeting, even though I'm missing those hugs and those high fives and those handshakes that we would normally be doing. I am the one that loves your students, my kids. I call them my kids, and I love them and would do anything to keep them safe. I am a proud first grade teacher and a proud Servia union member. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Delia. We're going to promote you to share your video. My understanding is that you also have several other students who also wish to speak. So I think we on the same topic. If those fellow students could also raise your hand, we can call all of you in succession here, just so we can kind of keep you all grouped together. That'd be great. But we are promoted you now. So Delia, please state your name for the record, and you have 3 minutes to share your thoughts.
Hi, everyone. My name is Delilah Friedler, former student body president at San Ramon Valley High, class of 2011. I'm here on behalf of 1,500 students, staff, parents, and alumni who signed a petition for racial justice in SRVUSD. This petition was drafted by alumni following the reckoning that began with the horrendous murders of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and far too many other Black Americans. In June, this board passed a resolution recognizing that people of color in our district experience microaggressions, profiling, hate, and bias. Regarding racial justice, the board declared the district would, quote, increase its efforts and, quote, actively engage in the challenging work of dismantling problematic practices. Having not yet seen further action, we present this petition today to help you do exactly that. We drafted this petition by consulting with dozens of students, parents, teachers, and admins, prioritizing those who experience racism. We talked to groups including PFLAG, the Diversity Coalition, Youth Advocates for Change, Black student unions, and other groups for high school students of color, members of the district equity team, and many others. Those conversations crystallized 7 demands, which the following speakers will explain further. Number 1, review curriculum to increase representation of Black, Indigenous, and other people of color, reducing the dominance of white perspectives. 2, educate students on racism, microaggressions, and privilege both in and out of the classroom. 3, increase the percentage of non-white staff in our district from 15 to 20% over the next 2 years. 4, mandate racial bias training for all district employees, school staff, and board members. 5, acknowledge the Indigenous, Ohlone, and Miwok histories of the lands where our schools sit at board meetings and school events. 6, divert some or all of the money spent on school police to counselors and other support staff for students of color, and review disciplinary practices for possible racial discrimination. And 7, act on half of these priorities by the end of the school year and the rest by the end of 2021. These demands were signed by 1,511 people, including signers from every elementary, middle, and high school in the district, and including approximately 480 current students, 200 teachers, that's more than 10% of teachers in the district, 50 administrators or other school staff, 280 district parents, 415 alumni, and 100 community members, including pastors, rabbis, and former teachers. We formally request that this petition be put on the agenda for a future board meeting. And with that, I invite you to please hear from the following parents, students, and teachers as to why these demands are urgently needed. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe next up is Nati Latono. We're going to promote you, and you can share your video, and you have 3 minutes to share your thoughts.
Hi there. Good evening. My name is Anaite Latona, and I would like to speak on a non-agenda item in support of the racial justice petition. I have 2 Cal High graduates and 1 current Cal High student. During their tenure at Cal High, they have seen and experienced bullying, racist, sexist, and gender-based name-calling, derogatory comments, and so much more. It wasn't just a small group. It is a pervasive understanding that difference was bad and that preserving outdated culture, values, and norms were more important than a safe environment for all students. They were not emotionally safe at school. The term microaggressions doesn't describe some of the events that occurred, yet they showed up every day and they navigated the minefield. My girls all struggled with seeing themselves at Cal High. They watched the privileges of race, class, and gender take center stage in most conversations. Class conversations provided few places of true understanding from the teachers. They were the more difficult conversations that left them feeling angry and often isolated. While not every moment was difficult, not feeling seen as a person of diverse background was and still is the common theme. I also witnessed the impact these conversations had on the few teachers of color on campus or teachers who positioned themselves as allies. They had the exhausting role of holding up all the students who needed a touchstone. The tired showed in them all. We need more representation of Black, Indigenous, and other people of color on staff, as well as training on how to conduct ourselves in ways that are anti-racist. I believe in education that affirms the identities and cultures of all students, along with having expectations of staff who interact with kids to have examined how their biases inform their behavior is a vital step to building safe and responsible educational spaces. These goals are pursued by educating students about the history of oppression and racism and how it is maintained in our current systems. When students and adults have that knowledge, decisions are steeped in understanding and empathy rather than fear. Not only am I a parent of students in SRVUSD, I am also a teacher. I teach in elementary school, not in SRVUSD, in a self-contained special day class, or SDC. I see the impact of bias, low expectation, and systemic racism and oppression daily. I know that individuals have good intentions, but unless we change the system, those individual voices are drowned out so as to be irrelevant. Courses like ethnic studies and anti-bias training for staff and having a representative staff begin the process of changing the system. It allows for a more diverse exchange of ideas, not to mention the building of critical thinking and analytical skills needed to support these conversations. It is time that we act on our words. We demand actions on the priorities outlined in the racial justice petition. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next up is Professor Gardiner. I will promote you so you can share your video. You have 3 minutes to share your thoughts, and please state your name for the record.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi. Good evening. I'm Allison Gardiner, a parent and community member of the San Ramon Valley, and I'm here to talk about racism. In order for kids to learn, as stated in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, they not only have to feel safe and have their basic needs met, but they must feel as though they belong. Liz Foslian said, quote, "Diversity is having a seat at the table. Inclusion is having a voice," end quote. But the clincher is her next line. Quote, "Belonging is having that voice be heard," end quote. How do we begin to hear each other? How do we begin to see each other? We need to make changes that will clearly demonstrate all our families belong in this district, that all our children belong in our schools. There is a petition for racial justice coming before this board in the next month that calls for changes to support and encourage belonging in our classrooms. It is my hope our Board of Education will actively recruit educators of color and develop systems to support and encourage BIPOC educators to thrive in this district, creating opportunities for all students to see their likeness in the leadership of their educational experiences. Representation matters. It is my hope our Board of Education will expect analysis of curricula through an equity lens and determine alternatives for any opportunities that seem to exclude BIPOC narratives and voices from the conversation. Examining the curricula and the roots of our collective past is not only the right thing to do, it is necessary for all to feel we belong here. The district's educators want to learn and practice these challenging skills of altering pedagogy, culling resources, and developing best practices to decolonize the students' experiences in the classrooms. Over the years, it simply hasn't been a priority in this district, but as of now, it needs to be. Bringing about anti-racist systems is crucial to enable all the students to thrive. It must be embedded in all we do. My son deserves better. All our kids deserve better. The educators want to do this work. Please support the necessary changes to give the educators the support they need to help all our kids begin to know they belong in the San Ramon Valley. Thank you.
See, Greg, do we have another public comment?
I apologize. Yes. So I just promoted Madison Vance. And you have 3 minutes to share your thoughts, and you may share your video if you wish.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Maddie Nance, and I want to thank the SRV alum that put together this petition and the board for hearing it today. When I found out about this project through an SRV alum, Kayla Eaton, I was super excited to get involved, and I'm so glad this is happening. I'm here today speaking in favor of the fourth demand of the petition, which entails that the district mandate bias training for staff as well as members of the district board. A little about me, I'm a senior at SRV, but I've also been in this district for my entire academic life. I went to Monterey for elementary and Charlottewood for middle school. While I'm grateful for the abundance of educational opportunities that I've had here, I've had several moments wherein I felt that I did not belong as a young Black girl. In all outward appearances, except for the color of my skin, I am just like any of my peers. My teachers at Monterey decided that at 6 years old, I was an ideal candidate for an anti-violence program. My mom was told that I had been placed in the program because I was quiet. But I can recall the hassle of being called out of class once a week in front of my peers to attend my weekly anti-violence sessions in the Rainbow Room, which is what they called it. Strikingly enough, I remember distinctly that my Rainbow Room buddies were all children of color like me. Before looking into the program herself, my mom was under the impression that I was there so that I could improve my social skills. In addition, I received special attention for showing proficiency in basic and grade level tasks from my teachers, for which my peers alienated and often ridiculed me. My teachers had such low expectations of me that answering the most mundane, uncomplicated questions correctly gave me over-the-top praise, and even my classmates noticed. In turn, I ceased to perform to my level of ability in an effort to socially conform for peer approval. I often wonder if my academic success has been hindered by my teachers' implicit biases toward me as a young Black girl. This is why I believe it is essential that the school board mandate bias training for staff among the several demands of our petition. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next is Zaid Fatah. I will promote you to a panelist. You may share your video.
Hi, everyone. I'm not sure if you can hear me, but my name is Zaid Fatah, and I am a senior at Monte Vista High School, and I also sit as the student member on the California State Board of Education. I'd just like to, first of all, thank President Ordway and fellow board members for facilitating this opportunity in which we can share our perspective during, I guess, non-agenda items. And I'd like to echo my fellow colleagues and friends on the importance of the petition that is before you today. Just from my perspective at the State Board of Education, I know that in next month's meeting, we're going to have the Ethnic Studies draft model curriculum coming before us, and it's very likely to pass. Ethnic Studies has been board in the state. Okay. Ethnic Studies has been something that both the State Board and the State of California and the State's Instructional Quality Commission have been really working rigorously on for the past few years. And seeing as it's about to pass and knowing the importance that something like this has for students of color in our school district is why I'm urging our school district to not only adopt the Ethnic Studies model curriculum, but to pay very close attention to various different points within this petition. Particularly, I'd like to bring up the 7th point, which is regarding committing to taking action on at least half of these priorities outlined in this petition by the end of the 2020 to 2021 school year. We know that the State Board is going to pass, and the state of California are going to pass Ethnic Studies very, very soon. And as someone who's attended 5 schools in the school district, sat through tens of thousands of hours of instruction, and had the opportunity to just learn from the wonderful teachers that grace our school district, I'm coming before you today to say that I've also had the unfortunate opportunity to witness numerous incidents of racism, hate speech that have really plagued our school district over the past few years, from my high school at Monte Vista to a few cases at San Ramon Valley and just cases all across our school district. And I think that if we as a school district are going to commit ourselves and abide by the decision that we made to commit ourselves against racism, it's imperative that we take the first step in accepting the ethnic studies model curriculum that is being presented to us, and also the various different things outlined on this petition before the state does it, because I think that it really shows our initiative and taking action on the importance of anti-racism and anti-bias. And so for those reasons, I urge you guys to not only approve the model curriculum, but also to follow the various demands outlined in the petition.
Thank you. Next up is Victoria Felix. We will promote you. You'll have 3 minutes to share your thoughts and your video if you so desire.
Good evening. My name is Victoria Felix. I am an Indigenous mixed-race woman from the Pit River Nation, Ajamawi Band, located in Bernie, California. I have been a classified employee for more than 13 years and have raised our children in this school district. Specifically, I am here to acknowledge the Ohlone, Chochenyo, and Miwok land and territory that we have the honor of living on. It would be very honoring and respectful to Indigenous people if we could consider doing a land acknowledgement as a regular part of school board meetings, staff development, and trainings. I want to show my appreciation to Ashley Gutierrez for her recent land acknowledgements during our admin retreat and equity training meetings. This tradition would teach our students, staff, and community members that we respect and honor the land that our schools and district office sit on. In addition, we respectfully request that Indigenous curriculum would be taught in our schools that is accurate and represents authentic culture and traditions of our people. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is James Ratke. You'll be promoted so you can share your thoughts. You'll have 3 minutes, and you can also share your video if you so wish.
Hello, I'll do it a little different way. Greg, can you give me a thumbs up if you hear me, please?
We can hear you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to address you guys tonight. Thank you for giving me the time. I'm a proud teacher of 3rd grade at Tassajara Hills Elementary School and a proud member of SRVUSD. I am in my 26th year in this fantastic district. I would also like to thank all the people involved with leading us through these tough times. I would also like to give you a view into some of the activities that have taken place in my classroom this year. I have seen how amazing the students are in many different situations. There are morning meetings which are run by many different students throughout the week and so far throughout this year. With the technology that is always excellent, with fantastic bandwidth that never freezes, faces, or kicks kids out of the meeting, right? Well, because that is not true, they have displayed an excellent ability to adapt and overcome whatever is thrown their way. Each of these meetings has a self-designated backup person by the students that knows to jump in flawlessly when the meeting starts to take a turn for the worse. When I am meeting one-on-one with other students in a breakout room, I often hear a simple question come out on the audio. What are we doing? Is it time for? As I reach for the unmute button, one of my other students unmutes themselves and explains what's going on. Another sign of true adaptation. These kids are 8 years old. The other day, we were sharing Flipgrid videos based on the Words Matter Week activity, This Is Me. I asked the first student to share their screen and share their video. It went so well, I let him take charge and show all the other videos as well. He introduced each student and kept the presentation going. It was outstanding. As each video finished and was going, the other students used the chat room to clap, compliment, and keep the other students going. It was very moving. It is things like this that I experience each day with these fantastic students that lead me to leave you with this idea. Instead of worrying about catching students up, we should be looking at how to utilize these new opportunities of learning and teaching to take our students into the future, to prepare them for the world that is ever changing. Thank you very much. Thank you for all that you do.
Thank you. Next up is Devon Rosedahl. We will promote you and you'll have 3 minutes to share your thoughts.
Hi there. Thanks for giving me a couple minutes to speak. Let me pull up my notes. Hi, so hopefully you can hear me. I'm Devon Rosedahl. I'm a father and local business owner. I grew up here in Danville. I attended Greenbrook School and Charlotte Wood and San Ramon Valley High. I'm also an Eagle Scout, and my Eagle project still exists at Greenbrook Elementary, and I'm glad to see it there. I'm the oldest of 9 children, all of which who attended public schools here in Danville. My family did move halfway through that, so not all of them graduated here, but several of them have. I want to say the union's message through wonderful teachers was a nice touch today. I have seen firsthand, as I am a small business owner working at home, how hard our teachers are working, and I know that it's difficult to do so over Zoom and adapt the way they're trying to teach our children. However, to me, that doesn't justify the impacts this has had on our young children. I'm the father of 2 children at Vista Grande, a 1st grader and a 3rd grader. My 3rd grader has no issue with Zoom learning. He is very adept with technology and is excelling. My 1st grader is not, and it has created a lot of conflict in our household and disruption with our business, which my wife and I both participate in. The frustrations as a parent are exacerbated when we speak to our family outside of California or friends that attend private schools and have throughout the pandemic. And we as parents, and I know there are a lot of us because I have spoken to many in the community, don't quite understand why the disconnect in which schools I can throw a football to from my home can be open safely, and yet kids' country can be open safely, but the classroom is unsafe. I just wanted to express that frustration and sentiment. I understand that we're opening hybrid tomorrow, and I'm very excited about that. I set goals from when I was a child to be able to live here and raise my family here. And I never thought that I would ever consider moving out of this state, but only in the last few months has my family had the discussions of potentially leaving California, and it is heartbreaking. And I can't afford private schools. I have to make SRVUSD work, and I love our schools. I love our teachers. We need our kids in schools. The unions seem to be protecting the teachers from something that does not exist, because kids are safely in school all over the country and the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Tiana Day. We will promote you and you'll have 3 minutes to share your thoughts and your video if you so desire.
Hi everyone, my name is Tiana Day, and we're just going to jump back to the topic of the racial equity petition. This is my little sister Talia, and she's going to share her perspective.
Hi, I'm Talia. I'm 11. I'm in the 5th grade and I go to Hidden Hills Elementary School. And I think it's important to talk about racial equity and inclusion in school. When I hear the teachers talk about Black history, I feel included, as well as when I am being called on in class to talk about my perspective of being a Black student in the SRVUSD. I feel as if my opinion and my voice is being heard. And I think this topic should be discussed in our district so students feel their differences are being celebrated. Thank you.
Thank you. If you wish to comment on a non-agenda item, please do raise your hand. We have one caller, one hand remaining. I do also want to remind people that you're allowed 3 minutes per agenda item. You may only speak on an agenda item once for public comment. So next up is call-in user number 1. We will allow you turn on your microphone so you may speak.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I appreciate the fact that we are a diversity kind of community. I enjoy learning different cultures, different backgrounds, different beliefs, different choices people have, and I respect that. However, it bothers me when a particular group of people seem to think that they matter more than other people. I was very offended when I heard someone who just said that they demand to fire white teachers so we can hire more. I'm thinking Black teachers because we're talking about Black Month this month. I think that is just so un-American. Why is it that we're discriminating the white people? I'm yellow. I'm from Taiwan. I can talk about, you want to know my difference? You know, the United Nations rejected my country. Jimmy Carter, the president of the United States, stabbed the nation of Taiwan like 8 hours before he announced that he was going to stop being our ally and then make connection with communist China back in 1979. Nobody talks about that in school. We need to talk about that because if we don't talk about that, our kids do not understand why we're in this kind of situation we're in, why we're dealing with the communist Chinese virus. That to this day, WHO is on the China side denying that we could have prevented this if they had just warned us that there is a virus in China and that everybody
sorry, we're going to have to, what you're talking about is actually within,
it is. You keep refusing for me to talk about my difference, my race, right?
I think we need to, yeah.
Okay, I think we did notice there was one more person who was promoted to a panelist. I think want to give him a chance to speak. Lucian Martin, if you are available to talk and wish to, you have 3 minutes to share your thoughts. You do need to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, wonderful. So I'm just going to cycle back to the racial justice topic. So racial justice, a subject that many have felt uncomfortable discussing for so long. Our efforts tonight can be the deciding factor of whether we lead this charge into the future or if we placate ourselves with being only second best, second fiddle, comfortably behind those bravely paving the path forward. We want the best for our students, for our schools, for our district. We can be brave. The board has already shown incredible bravery during this shockingly trying year, and you're brave enough to handle this too. Just over a year ago, during a board meeting just like this one, you had a student muster up the strength and courage to share a vulnerable story, a story he did not owe you, because he knew then what we're here tonight to reaffirm. The help that SRVUSD needs now must start with you. The changes that we need cannot be implemented from the bottom up alone. They must come from all parts of our district. So how do we do it? Tonight, you hold the power to validate and respect the reality that our students live in every day. Regardless of what you decide today, you will send a message. So what do you plan to say? Many of our students were not afforded the possibility of deciding for themselves when they first had to interact with, to understand, and to combat the issues of racial justice. Many of our students were not afforded the possibility of learning about race and ethnicity in a safe and structured manner. Many of our students had these discussions thrust upon them without warning, without proper preparation, and with increasing regularity due to an incident that took place on our campuses. These lessons will be had by our students with or without us. With us, they have structure, they have support, they have compassion. Without us, they may have to go it alone, and there are a few lonelier paths to walk. To offer our students the absolute best education possible, we must strive to be at the forefront of this matter. Waiting for others to lay the groundwork leaves these students who need these lessons today without the structure and support they deserve to have. The best time for this movement to have borne fruit was generations ago, but the second best time is now. The seeds have already been planted, events have already transpired, so now what grows from these unfortunate incidents is rooted in your decisions tonight. Your students are watching, your community is watching. If we're truly a district that serves all of our students at all times, then we must implement mandatory restorative justice consequences for any and all acts of racism on our campuses. A 9-year-old should not be meant to carry the burden of a racial slur. None of our students should. Our efforts must continue beyond initiatives and proposals. There must be structural change. The petition put forth tonight and the proposals for ethnic studies courses are only 2 of the fundamentally vital steps that must be taken. Talking about racial justice means talking about the racial injustices of our past. You may not be personally responsible for them, but you take on the responsibility when you respond to injustice with neutrality. As the late Dr. King Jr. noted, those who prefer a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice, are the true stumbling blocks to the change our community demands today. Silence is deafening. Please take tonight to speak volumes.
Thank you. So I'm just looking at the hands here. I do not believe we have any more hands raised for this item.
Okay, great. Thank you, Greg. Just want to let the public know that we really, each person really only gets to speak on, one the same topic item or our agenda item once. So that was why the caller number 1 was cut off. She was only speaking, I believe, kind of outside our jurisdiction, but also because she had spoken before and she does not get more turns than other people. So I just want to kind of clarify that. Okay, let's go on to 9.3, Association President's Comments. Again, we very much want to hear what our association presidents have to report from their membership, especially with tomorrow's reopening. But we would appreciate you making your comments brief, perhaps around 5 minutes or so. Thank you for your cooperation. So I'm going to start, I guess, with SRVU President Ann Katzberg. Ann.
Good evening, trustees. You're right. Tonight is such an important night because tomorrow we welcome back our TK through 2nd grade students who are going to be coming onto our campuses for their hybrid program. So SRVU members are so proud of our efforts to negotiate another addendum that provides our students with a safe and healthy schools and with classrooms that will be staffed with our amazing educators. And you got to hear from some of us tonight. And our services to, we know that we need to support the students' needs. So I just want to thank our management's negotiating team for their long hours and their commitment to getting this agreement. Our members ratified this most recent MOU addendum with a 91.8% in favor of the terms that we just negotiated. We are going back. I know there was some confusion about us preventing this. That is not what we intend to imply at all. We've been on this since the beginning with COVID, and we have worked tirelessly at negotiations to make sure that we can support our students. So at our negotiations, SRVU's table team was informed about the consideration of bringing back our 6th grade core classes in hybrid onto our campuses during this initial return to our campus. So in order to proceed in a timely manner, we decided that we would work out those terms of the 6th grade core classes after we completed the necessary negotiations. So I want to thank again our management team for that time that we got to work out these details. I think it's really valuable for you as our trustees to truly understand how helpful this process was. So when SRVU leadership met last Thursday with Ed Services, we have a typical Thursday morning meeting. It was decided that we needed to move really quickly with the 6th grade core plan. So we actually planned a meeting for the following day on Friday. I reached out to our site leaders as soon as our meeting was over. It was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Thursday. And then by 4 o'clock on Thursday, I had all of our middle schools represented with multiple people, multiple educators who wanted to get involved with working out these details. I was really proud, and you can also share in that pride that you know that our teaching staff is so committed to this process. So at this meeting, our members provided a very clear problem-solving mindset, and they were partnering with our administrators to develop a plan to make this work. We met again today, and we finalized that process. So whenever we find a pathway of true partnership, we really are able to accomplish things quite simply. Our members are willing to work through the nuances and the complications to make things happen for our students. So in preparation for our next considerations, I wanted to give you some ideas that I asked of our site leaders on what we should think about in terms of summer school and that preparation, as well as our Lcap meeting that will be coming up next week. And so for summer school, I have some of the following ideas I'd like to share. First, we think it would be great to provide a remote option as well as on campus. Please have a transparent hiring process so that our highly qualified educators can be hired to support our students. We'd like to have other pathways for our students to succeed in addition to Edgenuity, because many of our students are not successful on the computer and they're not successful with this program. So we want to make sure that our students can thrive maybe in a smaller school setting. Our teachers would like to support the process of identifying the needs of our students and so how we can best support them this summer. We'd also like to have you consider opening up a community service program for our older students that would allow them to come to our elementary schools and work with our younger kids. So in an effort to serve many students, if we could possibly utilize a combination of synchronous and asynchronous instruction, we may be able to accommodate more children. Also, utilize the expertise of our reading recovery trained teachers to help with our younger students in the reading loss or inability to accomplish the skills that they needed this year. Now for our Lcap priorities, we just have a couple ideas. One is to increase our mental health providers at all levels and consider having more counselors, including at the elementary level, as well as increasing the support of our psychologists and our social workers. Provide an education for our students that enhances the opportunities to address the needs of the whole child with a robust music program, art program, and physical education program. And also, like Jim Ratke adhered to, re-envision school. The challenges of this year have resulted in an amazing skill set for our students in terms of technology. So let's get together and let's envision what we can do utilizing what we have learned over the course of this very unique school year. I know our path ahead is uncertain, but I can't emphasize how important it is for us to partner as stakeholders in working together for the well-being of all of our students. Thank you for my time.
Thank you, Anne, for your report. I'm sure, yeah, that our Ed Services team will be talking to you about some of those ideas. Now for our CSEA President, Tammy
Castelluccio. No problem. I'm Tammy Castelluccio, President of CSEA. I just wanted to share with the board and the community that CSEA is in the process of ratifying the MOU that we just recently signed with the district, and that should be finished on Friday. So I will have information for Keith then. We also wanted to say how excited we are that students are returning to campus tomorrow in our elementary schools. And I would like to thank all the staff at the site level, the district level, for preparing to bring those students back. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tammy. Okay, and I don't think I see Carrie. Yes, SRVUSD President Carrie. Lucchini. Don't believe she's here. So, okay, before we go on, I think to our 10.1 item, action items, just want to make sure that we hear from, right, all public on all our items. So, Greg, is there any public comment, because I forgot this, for 9.1, the report on African American History Month?
Yes, I'd just like to request any attendees who wish to speak on this matter to raise your hand, and we will call on you. I currently see one hand raised.
Okay.
So call in user number 1. We will unmute you, and you'll have 3 minutes to share your thoughts on this board item.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, because I was deprived of the opportunity to properly speak from the get-go because of the technology issue you guys deliberately devised tonight, that I was shut out from speaking at 8.2. Then 9.1, you guys forgot to call the public. Then when you call me at 9.2 for public, I didn't mean to speak for 9.2, but I had to tell you that I want to speak for the previous items. But that's okay, I'm the public, and you can pull your plug on me anytime and cancel me anytime. That is why I want to let you guys know that there is no equity right now. How you treat me is the proof that we are not talking about equity. We're talking about privileged. You are all privileged because of your color. I am so sorry I happen to be yellow and from Taiwan. If I was from China, communist China, maybe I would be treated differently. But because I'm from Taiwan, and I'm yellow, I'm treated like I'm garbage. That's really how I feel you treated me tonight. Let me tell you something. I don't care what color of person teach my children. All I want is that they're competent. And I want to speak to the African Americans, my peers. I feel for you. I wish when we had President Obama for 8 years, he would have really did something to help all of your community to feel like you are part of us. I don't know why to this day, you have been here longer than I have. You've been here since before this country was established. I came here in 1983. I feel very a part of this country. And I feel so sorry that even when you already have a Black president, Barack Obama, you still feel like you're enslaved. I feel equity is not going to be people constantly letting you, have the job that I don't know if you may or may not be qualified. If the person who was requesting for the district to hire a Black teacher, but that Black teacher doesn't have a credential, why should we, the community, allow that just based on quality, equality, and based on color of skin? That's indeed inequality. That's indeed a racist behavior. Because what if there is a yellow teacher or a white teacher or a brown teacher or a red teacher or a purple teacher who is more qualified? Let's not lie to ourselves. We are all Americans. In order for us not to hate each other because of our color, we must respect qualifications and competence first. I am all for helping Black children at age very, very young to have pre-public education intervention. And I'm all for nutritional assistance and all that. And I wish Barack Obama would have done.
There are no more hands raised for board item 9.1.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to our 10.1 item, report, review, and action related to reopening schools. Dr. Malloy.
Thank you so much, President Ordway, and I'll just wait for the presentation to come up. I'm very happy to bring this report to you as we continue with our reopening process. Next slide, please. We continue to be committed to moving forward safely with hybrid in-person instruction, and we will continue to provide the effective remote learning program. You've seen this message before. I put it forward each time so that our commitments are clear. Next slide. We have completed our work. Safety plans, As we heard from our three bargaining units, or two of our bargaining units were here tonight, our MOUs are finalized, and thank you to our bargaining units for the collaboration to get to this place. The acknowledgement forms sent to our families who are coming back in hybrid, and of course, all schedules, all important reminders, safety videos have all been sent and will continue to be used because we know that we can keep our students and staff safe when we follow the guidance that we have been given. Next slide, please. So we have met the parameters. Our safety plan has been posted since February 1, and the cases now have been below 25 per 100,000 for a minimum of 5 days. We have made it to this date and this space in time. It's been a long road, as we all know, and I am very grateful and excited that we're here. Next slide. At the last meeting, we did not bring forward a model for 6th grade. The challenges that we communicated at the last meeting is that 6th grade in our district does operate as a middle school and high school does, which means multiple teachers and multiple cohorts. But we did hear from you, our trustees, we did hear from our community, and the guidance that we received from the state does allow for us to open 6th grade as long as we explicitly follow the rules. This slide has a lot of words on it only because many in our community go back to these presentations, they take pictures of these slides, they share them widely, so I'm not planning to read it to you. But what it basically says is, we are able to provide for those 6th grade students who are ready for in-person instruction, that we can provide their core subjects to them on campus: English language arts, social studies, and reading. And by providing a little bit of supervision for their other class, which is still going to be virtual, these students can be on campus for 2.5 hours for the 2 days that they would be on campus, because one day has the 2.5 hours, the other day has 70 minutes. And in order for it to be worthwhile, we worked to provide supervision in that other portion of the short day so that our students could at least be back on campus for core. Obviously, when we move into the red tier and our middle schools open, then we would obviously return to the 2 full days a week. So this is the model for 6th grade. We tried to push it as far as we could. We've gotten many ideas about why can't we include math, which we would have loved, but that then means a new cohort with a different group of kids and a different teacher. So we will be communicating to our families at each school site, because there are some various minor variations at each of our schools, but I wanted to communicate the overarching theme here. Next slide, please. So the big message, the exciting message is we're ready. We have been ready. We haven't always had all of the authorities to move forward. We still don't have certain authorities, which I will speak about, but I think it's important for us to be really grateful to all of our partners, families, students, staff, our district team, our trustees for getting us to this place. So next slide. The schedule would be as follows. Tomorrow, all preschool and grades TK to 2 begin. General education, county preschool, special day classes. Our families are probably aware, trustees, you know, that our schedule is a little bit unique these next few days, which is why it added a little bit of bumps to the road, if you will, as we created this schedule. But Friday is a teacher workday. Monday is a holiday, President's Day, no school. And in light of our prep time commitments, as our families know, when a Monday is a holiday, we usually have to pick another day in the week for us to be fully remote, because it allows us to provide appropriate prep time as per our agreements. So in order for things to remain smooth, we will ensure that Tuesday, February 16th, the day after the holiday, is that remote day where we would be following the Monday schedule. So elementary follows the remote Monday bell schedule. Secondary follows the remote block schedule for an odd day. Next slide, please. So that will allow then for our grades 3 to 5 to begin on Wednesday, February 17th in general education and special day classes. And middle school, pending approval, our 6th grade core classes, cohort A would be. Grades 6 to 8 special day classes will begin, and in high school, grades 9 to 12 special day classes and adult transition would all begin on Wednesday, February 17th. And then, of course, pending board approval, our 6th grade core classes, cohort B, would be Thursday, February 18th. So what this plan allows is for us to get started right away, as we committed, right after the 5 days, which is tomorrow. But because of our schedule, we would then bring back our students the following Wednesday, which is at least within the week that we originally committed. And then, of course, with how we're doing 6th grade, cohort B needs an additional day and starts on Thursday, February 18th. Next slide, please. Our bell schedules are all quite unique. I just need to say that up front. We have listed there the link that can be used by our families when they receive this presentation so that they can go onto our website and find the appropriate schedules. Obviously, elementary, it's best to check because, as I said, there are minor variations. And I want to share with the board that all of our elementary principals have been in very close contact with their community regarding the schedules, the next steps, and so forth. 6th grade hybrid students will follow their hybrid schedule. 6th grade remote students and all 7th to 12th grades will follow their current remote schedule, and SDC students will follow, of course, their SDC hybrid schedule. I'm not going to go through each one. It would be a lot of numbers on a lot of graphs. All of them are there, but in essence, I think you understand the concept of what it is that we are putting here in front of you. Next slide, please. It's important to clarify with special education that all related services will remain remote through the remainder of the school year. Speech, occupational therapy, and physical therapy. K-5 resource services will also remain remote for the remainder of the school year. 6 to 12 resource services will follow their cohort schedules. Preschool Center for Early Intervention for Autism programs will remain remote. IEP team meetings will continue to be held remotely for the remainder of the school year. And of course, our special education team, working with our principals, will support our families on any questions related to our returns and our services in special education. Next, please. We've spoken a lot about our desire to expand learning pods for especially our 7th to 12th grade students. Again, I've heard from a lot of families wishing that we could somehow move more quickly with our 7th through 12th grade students. And that is one of those issues that I'll state again, we unfortunately do not have the authority to move forward at this time. If public health guidance were to change in any way, by all means, we would bring that to you immediately. But this issue of returning in the red tier is one that is governed by our state requirements. And as I said, with the way in which things have been moving in the last couple of weeks in a positive fashion, I am hopeful that it will continue to be positive so that we can get to the red tier soon and we can get our secondary students on campus. In the meantime, though, we would like to focus our expansion of learning pods. And what we mean by learning pods is providing supervision for students to come on campus safely, to do the work virtually, but at least they're doing so on campus as opposed to home. It's not something that all students who wish to be hybrid would like, but it certainly might assist for some. And what we would ask is that students will be selected after consultation between parents and guardians, administrators, and counselors. And the reason for that particular piece is because though we push the model as far as we can, it's not as though we can open it to everyone because the supervision could simply not be provided. And I want to be very clear because we've had so many people reach out and say, but I'll volunteer to do so. But it's important for me to state that even though we so much appreciate our volunteers, and we may be using volunteers to a small degree, when we're trying to ensure safety of all kids on campus and the responsibility does fall to the principal, we need to be sure that we are creating structures that truly allow us to fulfill our commitments without making things more complicated for those who are there. Having said that, our goal is to try to expand to at least 41 learning pods across our secondary schools. Next slide, please. Again, this is a slide with a lot of words because it needs to be documented, but what it simply says is, we communicated in November, as hard as it was, that families needed to declare their intentions for the rest of the school year. We stated as clearly as we could that once the scales were set, there probably would be limited ability for movement. And that is clearly what has happened. We have built each class pretty much to its fullest extent. And though individual school sites will keep a waiting list, I need to say to you, our board members, because you might hear from some of our community, I've stated it publicly each time I've spoken, but I'm going to need to state it again, that at this point, there is limited, if any, ability to move between hybrid and remote. And so I need that to be shared with you because, again, we are hearing from a number of our families who are requesting a change, and now it becomes pretty impossible based upon where we are in the process. Next slide, please. It's important for our community and for our trustees to know that we are already working with our schools around end-of-year activities. We're working with our parents, we're working with our students and our staff. And we do understand that there does need to be some consistency across sites while still honoring some of the unique nature of each school community. And what we're doing is creating plans that would flow from each of the tiers. We have every hope that we are in a better place towards the end of the school year, but we need to be sure that we have multiple plans that align with the different expectations, at least as we understand them today, so that we are ensuring that to the best of our ability, the absolute best of our ability, we're getting people together, students and families and staff and communities, safely to celebrate transitions. Right now, it's still a little too early to determine where we'll be, but this is our commitment. This work has begun and this work will continue. Next slide, please. I've been asked repeatedly what is going to happen in the fall of 2021. And I'm going to be as clear as I can about what I know. Our public health experts have not been speaking explicitly yet about fall 2021. Our goal is to return to school in person every day. The only thing that would hinder that is the physical distancing requirements. And as I've said each time I've spoken to you in this space, if the physical distancing requirements shift, we would work to align with that shift. So my hope is that the numbers in this pandemic continue to decrease. The science that we've been reading quite a bit about might emerge with new requirements from the state that actually speaks to physical distancing, but I can be that clear that there are no other realities that would hinder a full 5-day in-person experience for our kids, with the exception of that one particular piece. So I think it's important to note, though, that we will provide a virtual option for those who feel that that's necessary. We do know that we would need to ask for that very early, because it would not necessarily be assuming that we move more to a positive place. We would offer it, we would want to ensure that it was effective, and we would need to ask early so that we can plan. But I want to be clear from my perspective to you that our goal is to return to in-person instruction as normally. And I will keep the community explicitly informed regarding anything I learn. And we are advocating as superintendents for clarity as soon as possible, because we know our families need this information because of the year that we've just had. And we've heard that families are making decisions, and I'm hoping that we can bring clarity as soon as possible. Next slide, please. So the recommendation tonight is just to add one piece to what you've already approved, and that is to add our 6th grade model to this approval so that they can be included in our reopening plan. Next slide. In conclusion, I just have a couple of concluding reflections. As I've reflected in the last 7 months, I've shared before that I've probably personally, as a leader in public education, not experienced such challenge to get to a better place. And I'm hoping that now is the time that we can truly come together as a community and as a system, respecting one another, working together, because part of what I think remains challenging, and my inbox continues to receive these messages, different members of our community holding different perspectives about what should be happening, not being able to respect others' beliefs, perspectives, and desires for their kids. And as much as I know firsthand how challenging this whole road has been, I certainly am not in any way commenting with criticism. My hope is we can somehow move through this door positively, respectfully, with support for everybody, because I think we're at that spot now. And in order to do that, I think we need to thank our community, to our staff who continues to do whatever it takes for our students. As I mentioned earlier, to our union colleagues who worked on yet again another memorandum of understanding as the guidance has changed. To our families, regardless of what your beliefs have been about the decisions that have been made or the ways in which they have unfolded, we are at a place that I think is much more positive than we've been at since I have been here with you. And most importantly, when we talk about our families and we talk about our staff, our students, I can only imagine that some of you continue to experience real challenge. Others of you have communicated that you're okay. And regardless of your experience, we know that this has been hard, and the uncertainty has added to the stress. And those of you who are seniors in high school or had really wanted to experience this year for all kinds of different reasons in that unique way that some grades are, there's nothing we can say except we get that that's challenging. But we'll continue to do whatever it takes as we move into this return. We will continue to advocate to get our secondary kids back on campus when it's safe to do so. We will do, as I said, all that is required to support your learning and your well-being at this time. I would be remiss if I didn't offer one last comment. I meet, as the community and the trustees know, with superintendents across the country, superintendents in our county, superintendents in our state. I have usually at least 3 meetings a week. And there's one piece that I feel very grateful for in the San Ramon Valley Unified School District, because as long as this road has been, we are at this place to reopen. But there are many communities that are not at this place for all kinds of reasons. And you know, in my experience, public education is strong when it is equitable and inclusive, and all kids have access, especially those who need it the most. And so I hope as we continue to advocate for our kids' well-being, which is the priority, We also understand that advocacy may be required in other places and spaces. So not just our kids can get back to school, which is necessary, but all kids in our state. And so I feel it's necessary to offer that comment because as I listen to the reflections of some of my superintendent colleagues with different challenges than ours, they haven't been able to get here. And that's why I think it's important for us to be cognizant and grateful. But trustees, I am closing this presentation by saying your support for this challenging process, both our previous board and our new board, and your support and advocacy to get us to this place is so much appreciated by your district team, because as I said earlier, I haven't experienced something this challenging because of how new, emerging, and diverse every aspect of this pandemic has been. So I will stop there. And President Ordway, I know before public comments, you usually like to see if any of the trustees need to clarify anything I've said. This is a lot of information. I apologize for it, but at least it's a lot more positive than some of the information I've been asked or I have needed to communicate in the past.
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Dr. Malloy, for your presentation. And yes, I want to, ask my fellow board members, do you have any questions for Dr. Malloy or comments? And we can, yes.
Yes. I have a couple of questions. First, though, I want to take a minute to thank Dr. Malloy and the administration and the school site staff and administration. It wasn't that long ago that I was not a school board member, that I was a parent. And I didn't really realize, I knew that there was a lot of work went into a lot of things, but I didn't realize how much time and energy and brain power it takes to keep this district moving in a positive direction. And now with COVID, just all of these moving parts, you guys are doing an amazing job going above and beyond. And I, as a parent, as a board trustee, as a member of this community, I greatly appreciate it. And I just want to take a minute to say that. And I think I speak for all the board trustees when I say that too, but I wanted to acknowledge that. I have two kind of clarifications that I'd like to ask. So you had mentioned that the special education services are remaining remote, which I understand, but I was wondering if you could clarify a little bit to our community as to why those services have to remain remote when we're moving to hybrid for the SDC classes.
Thank you for that question. And may I ask one of our special education team, whether it's Marianne, I think is here to help us with that?
Yeah, hi, good evening, everyone. Trustee Brad, there's multiple reasons for it. In large part for consistency for students so that we're not continually changing their schedules, and the lack of kind of exact clarity for when we will go into red and if we'll be able to maintain there. So we decided that for consistency for staff and students, it was best that we maintain the schedules. And also while in these cohorts, the guidelines we have where we're currently in are really strict, where staff would not be able to go into the classrooms to support the students or pull the students out. And again, even when we get to red, we still have limitations there. So we really felt the consistency was essential with the time remaining because of all the changes we've had to do throughout the year to this point.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that makes sense to me. I just wanted to make sure that our community understood it as well. And then in regards to 6th grade, just a little bit of clarity on how that'll work from a schedule standpoint. So when I look at the hybrid schedule for 6th grade and I see, cohort A on campus and then cohort B on campus. Well, when cohort A is on campus, they will be on campus the entire time through lunch. From 8:30 through to student support, or will they just be on campus for their core classes and then they go home and will be working remotely for the other classes? And when I say when they're going to be on campus, if they're going to be on campus for that full day, is it that they're in their core class and then they go to a small learning pod for the rest of the remote classes? I just wanted a little bit more clarity on how that 6th grade day looks.
So thanks for asking, because that is the slide that probably has all the complications because it's new. So let me be clear, and then I'm going to turn it over to John Campopiano to assist. The one piece of information I forgot to mention in the presentation is we will ensure that our principals communicate cohort A and cohort B by the end of the week, because again, each school is a little bit unique. And one of the things we really are supporting our principals to do is they've been amazing, by the way, as you all know, but we're actually supporting them to do the communication so that it truly reflects the specificity of their community. So that's going to happen regarding the cohorts. But actually, the model, while we're still in purple, has to be different than the model when we're in red, because the only kids that the only cohort that can be together is the core cohort. So we're not going to have them on camp. Our sixth graders can't stay on campus all day. They're only going to be on campus for half the day, a little less than half the day. And because one of those days is only one class and it's only 70 minutes, that's the day that they will be on campus for a half day with supervision. So John, since this is your area of expertise, you might be able to get a bit more granular and clear than what I've been able to communicate.
Thanks, Dr. Moy. I think you did capture it, and Trustee Brad and all of you are welcome our principals and our sixth grade teachers and all our teachers. Amazing how we collaborated around that. And so I want to thank all those that were on the committee that are listening tonight that met for 2 sessions. Yes, essentially, if you're a morning cohort, and I won't go too into the details, but I'm happy to follow up. If you're a 1 through 3 student, let's say, English, reading, history, you would have 2 periods, period 1 and 3 on Tuesday if you're cohort A, right, 8:30 to 11. And then the next day, you would only have period 2. So we'll be offering a learning pod in the morning if a student or family wants to come from 8:30 to 11. So the way I think is the cleanest way to think of it is if you're a morning block, you would be 8:30 to 11. And if you're an afternoon, periods 5, 6, 7, and most of that is schools are aligned, you'd be there from 11:45 through student support. And then other students would be remote into that student support for the morning. So I think that's the cleanest way to think of it. And they'll have those 2 different blocks. Only one of our sites will have a block that carries over Diablo Vista between lunch, as their core is period 2, 3, and 4. But those students will stay as a cohort to follow all safety guidelines.
Okay, and then there will be enough opportunity for custodial staff to be able to clean, assuming that they're going to be using the same space, or is it going to be separate bathrooms, separate space for those cohorts, afternoon and morning cohorts?
So thanks for the question. One of the things that the new guidance in January 14th speaks about is cleaning versus the very heightened disinfecting that we heard quite a bit about in the fall. And we will have a protocol so that any spaces that will be shared by a different cohort will be cleaned in between.
Okay, and then one last question with the middle schoolers. Will they have an opportunity to do grab and go lunches if they're on campus, or is that with nutritional services? Will there be those opportunities for those students?
Great question. Thank you.
Thanks,
And
John.
Oh, go ahead. You want to answer that?
No, I'd like you to. I was just calling your name. Thanks.
Oh, I thought someone else. Sorry. Thank you. Yeah. Director Villarreal is working on the grab and go, and there will be opportunities for those. They're being developed at each of the sites. It will be a little different at Diablo Vista than the other ones because of when there, but yes, we're working on that, and we will communicate that out with our other comms that go out regarding cohort, et cetera.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for answering my many questions.
Any other questions from other board members? Okay, I just have one, and it's kind of related to what one of Laura's questions. Mine it's less about scheduled and more like facilities. So I know with, elementary is very different from sixth grade and middle school, where the kids are moving, a little more movement. But I know because we're talking about sixth grade core, just core. Are they going to be just every time they're at school, just in their classroom, or are they going to be able to move maybe as a group into the library, because it's core English, different subjects that might,
So
be good to be in a library.
So the answer is that the whole purpose is that the cohort has to stay together. The cohort can move. as long as they're not mixing with other cohorts. We're not necessarily saying the only place you can be on campus is the room. But it's important that while we're in this space, the purple space has certain rules that the red space wouldn't have, the red tier wouldn't have. So while we're in the purple tier, they could move, but they'd move as a cohort, they'd stay with the teacher, they'd be together for 3 periods.
Right, okay. So not necessarily have to be like in the classroom all the time. Okay, no, that was my, I was just kind of wondering about that. And then also I know that they're still right after school, I guess the small groups going on. So are, you know, would our the 6th graders and even elementary students be available, I guess, to take advantage of the after school?
So I will make one comment and ask Chris George to give an update on what's happening with specialized small groups. So just to clarify, the learning pods are the supervised during the school day piece, right, where virtual learning is happening. I'm just sharing this for our community because we have created new words. And then the specialized small groups mean volunteer after school. And the other idea that has been requested by some of our families that we're beginning to explore, especially for those kids who aren't coming to school and whose families for various reasons don't believe that their kids should be at school, might we be able to do some specialized small groups that are actually virtual? But in terms, so that's being explored as well. But in terms of where we've gone with specialized small groups since the last time we met with the board, Chris, would you be able to provide an update in that regard?
Yes, Dr. Moy, thank you. Thank you for the question, Trustee Ordway. We are continuing those specialized small groups indefinitely, as long as we have the people that are still interested in running them and we have kids who want to avail themselves of that opportunity. They've been greatly successful. We've had about, I want to say around 60 this round since we reconvened them in January. My understanding in consulting with COVID task force is yes, kids can participate in a during the day cohort and an after school small group. So that's, you know, we were worried there for a while that they wouldn't be, but they are allowed to and can participate in both opportunities.
Oh, great. Okay, so more options for our families. That's wonderful. Okay, any other questions, trustees? Okay. I just like to bring something since we're kind of in discussion right now and questions. I'd like to bring up something that I think it's important, especially since our staff and students, right, will be physically be on school sites starting tomorrow. So I understand that I've heard, I'm sure you all heard that like Alameda County Public Health has prioritized, right, their education workers to be vaccinated. At the same time as they're like 65 plus, I believe, residents. And I don't know if Contra Costa County Public Health has been working on something similar, you know, the same type of priority for our county. But I think you've all heard that I signed the CCC SBA, the Contra Costa County School Board Association letter advocating to our county and county public health, along with 13 other school board presidents, right, to prioritize our education workers for the vaccine. And actually, our trustee, Rachel Hurd, you know, had voted for the letter as our representative to the association. And I was just wondering, maybe I'd like to propose that our board may also write a letter advocating on behalf of our, especially our in-person staff, you know, and perhaps also to the state, since I'm starting to hear that maybe education workers are being dropped down in priority. So I wanted to make sure that, because I think that not only would being vaccinated help our staff, but it actually is good for our students, especially our older students, to, you know, try and get them maybe, okay, this is the way I'm thinking, that if more people, more residents, more teachers, more, right, are vaccinated, then the COVID cases will probably come down within our community. And that actually will get us faster to getting our middle school 7 through 12. You know, if we pass this, if we vote to approve the 6th grade, then 7 through 12, we want them back as soon as possible. And right now, the only way is to bring it down, our cases down to the red tier. So I'm thinking that maybe if we can, as a board, write a letter, really kind of connect to our state and county officials and public health, and just say, hey, we really do need help, because some of the other counties are making headways, and we also want to be out there too. So what do y'all think, board members?
So I had a meeting this week with Candace Anderson on Zoom, substantial meeting, also talking to her about what our county is doing as far as prioritizing our teachers and continuing to try to keep up the pressure for them to do that. And one of my constituents received an email from her policy, the person in her office that handles policy. And what they said was that Governor Newsom announced that the state of California would simplify the prioritization of vaccine appointments and new standards universally beginning in mid-February. And that would extend the vaccine eligibility to phase 1B, tier 1 next month, including healthcare, individual 65 plus, education, and childcare workers. So hopefully, I would personally be in favor of us as a board putting something out individually to both the governor and the public health for Contra Costa County, because I think getting our teachers vaccinated is a really important piece to getting our kids back in school. And if it helps get them back in school sooner, then that's what we need to do.
Right, Shelby. So, okay, so unless, yeah, so.
Suzanne, yes, just real quick. Since we don't have an action item that would allow us to take a vote on this, you know, I would just concur with what Shelley just said in terms of if each of us felt to move forward and provide letters of support, I'm amenable to that. As far as something from the entire board, I'm not sure, Dr. Malloy, if we can take an action like that at this point in this particular agenda item or not.
Well, we don't have a formal action item on the agenda, but while you're listening to any public comments, let me figure if there's some way that you can do something if it's your interest, and I'll get back at that time.
Yeah, and I know it's not on agenda to take an action, and I would, you know, offer to write a letter, a draft or something for all 5 of us, and then maybe we can take an action, you know, a little later. But anyway, okay, back to our, unless there's any other comments, I'm gonna go back to our item, and it is public comment time. So Greg.
Yes, we currently have 3 hands raised.
Okay.
If any other attendees who wish to speak on this board item specifically, please go ahead and raise your hand and we will call on you in turn. Please do state your name for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to share your thoughts. We will start with a phone number that ends in 190. You have 3 minutes to share your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You can hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, good afternoon or good evening. Thank you so much. My message is just real quick. I just want to say thank you. As a parent of 3 children, 2 of them that are going to school tomorrow, one of them for the first time ever in person. We're elated. And as another member of our family who is going into special education next week, our kids are all back in school. And I know this has been a tough journey for everybody, but we are just so thankful Nothing but appreciation to everybody for the patience that you guys put in. I know the community, this has been difficult for everybody, but just a real happy family here, and we want to say thank you. And I know we probably have someone else who wants to speak about their frustrations, which will probably come after my call, but just for you guys, thank you so much. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, next is Justin Laundrie. We will promote you, and you'll have 3 minutes to share your thoughts and your video if you so desire.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great, thanks. My name is Justin Laundrie. As the parents of 2 children at SRV, we continue to be concerned about the lack of strategic thinking, long-term planning, and ultimately execution by the SRVUSD Board of Education. While the news earlier today of achieving the arbitrary metric of less than 25 per 100,000 may excite some, to us, it's merely a stage gate that you could have acted on as far back as April 2020 and on several instances in the last 11 months. The sad fact is that Contra Costa County was less than 25 per 100,000 up until November 30th, 2020, and there were multiple meetings and votes where you missed on the opportunity to get kids back in person. For Susanna, this failure, combined with the lack of grades for high school kids during the second semester, not planning for kids to be split at the start of the 2021 school year so you could easily flex, poor budget management, and your general attitude of apathy are just a few of the reasons we feel strongly about the recall. The debacle during the December 15th board meeting was just the icing on the cake. Quite frankly, it's not time to celebrate, but a time to calibrate where we are today. The bottom line is this board needs people who are passionate, possess problem-solving skills, and are forward-thinking. It feels like you're all in a Volkswagen van heading down the 680 in the slow lane with your hazard lights on while Bob Marley plays lightly in the background. As we predicted, our county COVID numbers continue to trend down. The combined rate for our 3 cities is now down to 11 per 100,000. Once again, it took parents of this community to shake the branches with County Health on Friday to correct their website data. Did any of you write, call, or question the data? I'm confident the answer is no. The end goal in your mindset should be that we need all kids back in person, full-time, 5 days per week. Now, as in the past, the district offers alternate options for those who prefer something else, and we support all having that choice. And anything less will force many of us to leave the district and/or state this summer. There are 3 things that my family want to address, you to address, so we can make our decision to stay or leave. Clearly communicate tonight what the plan is to get all secondary students back on campus immediately. We need creative people on the board who will be bold and who will fight hard to get kids back on campus now. Ask yourself, when was the last time that someone on this board voted against or even disagreed with one another's thoughts? Agree tonight that the board needs to find a way to be in person full-time for those who want to be in person in the fall of 2021. Get creative, use auditoriums, libraries, gyms, outdoor tents if needed. This community has some amazing and passionate people who can help. This really isn't that difficult. Many other districts have already done it. In worst case, copy their playbook. Third, set a date now and communicate that declarations for next school year will be due April 1st, 2021. So families have the time to decide what their plan will be, and you can assess classes and teachers accordingly. If anything, the last 11 months should teach you, you need to be proactive. We continue to research our plan B. Well, we don't want to leave this great community. You left us no other choice. Thank you for the time, and please give us our family the choice that we deserve.
Thank you. Next up is Walker French. You will have 3 minutes to share your thoughts and your video if you so desire.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Oh, sorry. After 11 months, I still don't know how to use the computer and the Zoom, but thank you. This is actually Walker's mom, Jen. And while I do agree with some of the previous callers' thoughts, I needed to come on because all day I've been bursting out into tears, driving by Greenbrook, walking around Osage, thinking about what tomorrow's going to be like for my teacher friends who I miss terribly, and for the little kids who haven't been on campus ever. I ran into the science teacher at Charlotte Wood the other day, Mr. Swenson, who was literally giddy with excitement as my son Walker was lucky enough to be doing so horribly in school that he was asked to come to school, which is a really weird statement to say, but he was so excited to see kids. And I cannot wait. And I see it that the district is switching their tone. For 11 months, the tone has been excuses as to why we can't get our kids back on. And I'm so thankful to everyone for changing their tone and finding reasons why we can. A big, huge portion of our district that I don't think has been thanked enough are the parents. We've closed our businesses. Mine was one that raised thousands of dollars for every school in this district. And I miss bringing people together to do that so terribly. And I thank Chris George for listening to phone calls like this that he gets from me, and still smiling at me when he sees me at the store and excusing the fact that I'm a psychotic mom who just loves these kids in this town so much. A thank you to the parents who turn their dining rooms, tables into desks and their kitchens into cubbies, and the teacher moms who won't go downtown and grab wine with me anymore because they're afraid that they'll be judged for having a life outside the classroom. And for those of you who have never seen me before, or to those of you who have, I'm a girl who obviously appreciates crumbs, but I really want to eat the whole cake. So this isn't the last time you'll hear from me, because I intend to continue to fight until all the kids are on campus, all the teachers are in the classroom, all the parents that want to stay home can, all the teachers that want to stay home can. Thank you, everybody. John Campiano or Campo DeBacci for listening to all my friends who were so incredibly stressed out this past 11 months. Please hug your children really tightly tomorrow. The anxiety of going back is high, and I can't wait to hold my welcome back sign up for those kids tomorrow morning. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay, next up is Nicole Hoarder. We will promote you, and you will have 3 minutes to share your thoughts and your video if you so desire. Please state your name for the record.
Hello. I just had a quick remark that I wanted to make that I'm hoping you guys can discuss. I don't think it was addressed previously, but I know we're starting to do like lots of testing. There'll be tests in the thousands when we start doing our teacher surveillance testing as well as students. And it's been brought to my attention that the district will be notifying the county of all positive test results, but that negative results do not need to be recorded with the county. And I would like to have a really thorough understanding of that. That's a very large red flag in my book because as we know, we need to get to the red tier to bring our secondary students back. And unfortunately, our tiers are tied to our case numbers and positivity rate. So if San Ramon Valley Unified School District is contributing only positive test results, that's going to counteract our goal of reaching the red tier. So I have been told that this has been brought up and confirmed that as a district, we will only be recording positive cases or positive test results. And I think that is not okay and erroneous on several levels. So we need to figure out how we can have all of our tests and results counted or none of our tests counted. It needs to be inclusive so that the accuracy remains from a county standpoint. So that's really my only comment for tonight. Otherwise, I'm with Jen French. I'm super excited for the first day tomorrow, even though I don't have kids returning tomorrow. I'm really glad it's a step in the right direction. Thank you.
I want to remind people, if you wish to speak on this board agenda item, please raise your hand so we know to call on you. We have one hand remaining. This is a call-in user number 1. We will unmute you and you'll have 3 minutes to share your thoughts. Please state your name for the record.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello. Okay, I just want to thank Superintendent for making his words good. Last year, I wasn't sure if you guys will keep your promise, but it looks like we are moving towards the right direction. And after hearing the 3 previous parents before me, I really feel so grateful that we're able to at least allow those who really want to and need to go back to school to go back to school. So thank you. And I want to let Trustee Ordway know that when you write Newsom about the vaccine, would you kindly ask him to please not get the vaccines that are made in China, because China did not disclose their vaccine data. So nobody really knows how effective or how poisonous their vaccines might be. So please don't give that to our teachers. And I just want to let the teachers know that they have the option to decline also. And that, can you please also let Governor Newsom to know to stop giving money to China to buy things such as test kits. And they started using test kits that poke into people's anus. I don't want those kind of test kits in our district, so please don't get those at all. And I would like to request for hybrid board meeting, like the previous parent. No, not everyone is tech savvy. You're truly locking out a lot of people who want to participate, but you are using the Zoom, which is Chinese developed technology, to shut people who disagree with you out. And especially this is to Mr. Medici, please don't do that to me, nor to the district. That's really, really unbecoming. So I would like to request for hybrid meeting, meaning those people who want to go back to the boardroom should be able to go back to the boardroom for boardroom meetings. And those who want to stay behind the screen or on the phone, they can too. Lastly, I want to agree with the previous parent that there has to be a deadline in April. I know Mr. Medici really wants people to move out because he cannot wait to move Chinese immigrants who have the money to buy up our houses here in. So, but we do have an option. So please kindly let the deadline about next year, whether it's going to be remote or physical, to come to let the community know by April, as the previous parent requested. I ditto him. And if you guys want to move more Chinese in, I know Mr. Medici probably knows a lot of people. I know he told me that he worked in Asia before, so I'm sure he has a lot of connections. But it is our right to know. Thank you.
Okay, we have 2 more hands raised. Next up is Matthew Hoffman. We will promote you, so you have 3 minutes to share your thoughts and your video if you so desire.
Hello, thank you. So getting the 6th grade kids back in this time when there were so many opportunities and possibilities to not is the exact type of leadership that this community has been looking for so long. So thank you to everyone in this call, listening in the board meeting on that side or on YouTube on the other side, for everything that people have done to move us toward this position where we could be, to make this decision, to have this leadership, and to see the future now that we can all move forward safely together. So thank you for taking this opportunity to vote on this important measure of getting the 6th grade kids back. And moving forward, when we talk about advocacy, let's talk about how we can use our own success in the San Ramon Valley District of measuring our safe return and have that be the barometer of how we can bring back other grade levels that also need to be back on campus. Everyone deserves to be back, and we can safely do it. So let's show how we can do that. And I appreciate what Dr. Malloy talked about in bringing this forward to the broader community. And we here in the parent community agree with you in that we need to get all these schools open as soon as possible so that everyone can enjoy the same things that we're about to enjoy here in our area. Everyone deserves a chance to be at school that wants to be at school. So thank you for bringing that up, Dr. Malloy. Claire, did you want to say something? And I have my daughter here, Claire, and she would like to mention something as well. Claire, you want to say something?
I'm really happy to go back to school, and it's going to make school really a lot easier for the kids to learn.
Great. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
We have one hand remaining. If anyone else wishes to comment on this board item, please let me know. Amelia Breton Lake, we are going to promote you so you can have 3 minutes to share your thoughts and your video if you so desire.
Good evening. I know that I am in the minority and we represent a different part of our school district than most of the parents you hear from. The folks who are vocal are all about everybody has a choice. Some of us will be going back to school next week, and we did not have a choice. In November, when we were supposed to go back in red, we opted for our daughter to remain with her teacher. And now she'll be going back to school when case rates are almost 4 times what we agreed to. In November, we were told that there would be forms that would be filled out, maybe even an app for other students and for every parent to vouch for what their child did not have symptoms. Now it's just you promise that you really checked. And so my daughter's going to go back to school next week, not in the situation that we had agreed to. And that's not right. I know that there are many people who want their children back at any cost, and I understand that. Our only option would be for our daughter to lose her teacher, to lose her school, and to lose her IEP team if she did not go back. So every day, we're nervous about what will happen to her and to our family. Thank you.
We have one call-in attendee. So if your phone number ends in 676, we'll be unmuting you, allowing you to have 3 minutes to share your thoughts.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, my name is Alex. I have a quick, simple question. With some schools not reopening to hybrid, what is the logic behind switching their schedules to the new remote schedule, where Mondays is going to be essentially about 2.5 hour reduction of instruction time, and will become a school is staying remote? Thank you.
At this time, we have no other public comments on this board item.
And President Ordway, if I can just clarify, because I did a little bit of checking while we were listening to public comments, under this agenda item, which speaks to all aspects of reopening, even though we spoke specifically about a few topics within it, if you wish to do as a board something specific to anything that supports reopening, such as your idea related to the vaccination, you'd be allowed to put a motion on the floor, any of you, and it would be fine under the particular agenda item. I just wanted to be absolutely clear before I answered, and so there is hopefully the clarification you were looking for.
Great, thank you, Dr. Malloy. And then, yes, and to the, a couple of callers, I think before that had questions, right? I want to make sure that their questions are answered. So I think the last caller, I believe the schedules had to be changed for all in order for us to, I think this is what his question was, right? Why do, if his child is not going back into hybrid, or why was his schedule changed? And I think the answer had been given that we had to do that in order to be able to change for second semester, right?
So I think the clearest way for me to offer a thought would be that we made the change, as you just said, so that everyone could move to the next place. And that I think the caller was saying that he thought that the hybrid model for sixth grade was only going to be a half a day. That's only in this interim period, but they will still have the other half of their day virtually. So it's very clear that they're still getting their program, but it just needs to be offered in this way until we get to the red tier. Having said all of that, the schedules did need to be changed, President Ordway, as you suggested, or we wouldn't have had the ability to move forward at all.
Right. Okay.
If I could, we did hear a couple of other questions that I wrote down. If I can just walk through a few, and then trustees, if you picked up on some that I missed. We did work all weekend with Dr. Farnitano and Contra Costa Health Services. It was stated early that maybe staff didn't do that work. We worked on Saturday, we worked on Sunday to try to assist them to assist us so that their webpage actually aligned with what the state said our county had achieved in terms of counts on Friday. So I wanted to clarify that. I do hear the concern about the parent who was worried about what we're asking our families to do before they come to school. We've never planned on using the app, and we never planned on using that particular screening for one reason. There's actually no place for it to go. And there's no way to monitor that particular tool. So what we are saying to all of our families, our principals are constantly affirming this, and we do need everyone to cooperate. You've got to do the screening at home. You've got to be able to do that in a way that keeps all of us safe. So that's absolutely another important piece I wanted to share. The third piece is, I think, some misunderstanding around testing, positive testing, and how it works at the county level. Greg Medici is much more capable of answering that question than I, so I'll turn it over to him to clarify that important piece.
Thank you, Dr. Malloy, and thank you, President Ordway and board. So yeah, for clarification around the kind of idea of per 100,000 positive, it's actually a very simple measure that actually uses population, which is relatively fixed, and then positive cases, which are just, they are what they are. So for direct example, if Contra Costa County, which is an approximate, has approximately 600,000 people, and the case rate number is 20 per 100,000, that by definition means that that day, and there's some fancier definitions beyond, with averages and everything else, but 120 people tested positive within our county that day. So 120 per 600,000 is 20 per 100,000. So the concept of how many false positives, or negatives would be reported is just simply not a measure in this concept.
And those were the questions that I noted, but I may have missed some. So President Ordway, before you engage in your dialogue and discussion, if there are any other questions you feel we need to clarify?
No, that was the other question about the testing that I had. Rachel, did you notice something?
In one of the earlier comments, and then also in one of the comments made during the non-agendized. John, do you feel comfortable just explaining the cohort piece and why some private schools and why Kids Country and the other childcare providers in the Valley are able to operate right now, and how that's different than why we couldn't just replicate the same thing. Because I would just really like one more time for us to have a crack at explaining that to our community.
The definition of a cohort, when you're in the purple tier, when you're in the red tier in schools, changes. And what I mean by that is Kids Country must operate in a small and stable cohort using that guidance. Private schools who've been able to fulfill the requirement in our county of the 6 feet, 4 to 6 feet is what it's been, then it moved to 6, then it moved to 4, let's just say 4 to 6 feet, do so because of the number of kids they have in that classroom. Some classrooms are bigger than ours. So it's all about the math. How much space do you have? How many feet does it take? And how many kids can you place in there? So the whole notion of cohorting is specific to the physical distancing requirement. And the way public health explains this, our younger kids in terms of transmission, there's lots of evidence now that they are not, little people are not dangerous in terms of transmission. As we get older, our ability to transmit is greater. However, if we use all the strategies, that risk is mitigated. So as I understand the issue, the distancing and the masking keeps us most safe while we are pre-vaccine. Some could argue, though, that it could still keep us safe, because I'll use an example. We did have a positive case on our high school campus when we conducted the PSAT. We demanded that every student did what they were supposed to do in the classroom. Yes, sometimes families say, but I saw people walking home and such. We have to hope that at home, people are in cohorts and bubbles and such that are allowed. And we did not have any transmission because we followed those rules. So I think the issue is the state is clear. Cohorting looks a certain way in childcare. Cohorting looks a certain way in schools, 6 feet. And we must follow it. But I think the argument is, but if we do the other things safely, why couldn't we actually push to 3 feet, for example? But that's where I keep saying to those who reach out to me, it's challenging because we don't have that authority. And in our county, it's been made very clear that that would be monitored. Other counties, I've heard it may not be treated in the same way, but can't speak to with the same kind of clarity as what you've just heard. So Trustee Hurd, is that at all clearer?
It's clear to me. I just, when we have our community that keeps pushing, why can't you have kids back in school 5 days a week, like so-and-so district, you know, so-and-so school that they say they can see. I mean, my understanding of what has been said by the district for months and months and months is that we do not have large enough classrooms and small enough class sizes to pull that off. Is that an accurate way to say that?
Trustee Hurd, that is absolutely accurate. We've even begun, just so that our community knows, that we try to look under every stone. Where even as we think to the future, if things don't get as positive as we'd like, what would the cost be to have smaller class sizes? And then where would we have the ability to accommodate smaller class sizes? And we get into the multi-millions and we have some facility issues. So we're looking at all of those things. But when people are really advocating, it's really quite simple, as complex, as disappointing as the news is. And that's why I keep going back to the same piece. In schools, we need to be physically distant. We need then to have a hybrid model until physical distancing changes. And then if I'm listening to the part of our community that might sometimes ask us to do it, I have to keep saying why we can't. But I think I'm hearing in some of the challenge, might we be able to advocate? And that's a whole nother question. But I think I've tried to explain the cohorting and why it's required at state level and then at our county level.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions for Dr. Malloy or our district team on this item? Okay, so I guess we need to take an action I'm going to ask for the 2 actions, but one right now is what,
Susanna?
sorry.
First, I'm sorry, you're asking for questions for them. I just want to make some comments, if that's okay.
Oh, sure, of course.
Move on to the motions and all. First, I did want to thank Dr. Malloy and our leadership team and the work with everyone to get us to this point. It's something, as Laura was saying early on in the meeting, you know, it's been critical. It's been something that we've been pushing for, you know, to give all of our families the choice that they've been looking for, you know, whether it was to be back in person or to stay remote. And as we do, and we've had some callers talk about, you know, one of their children is going to be coming back to school for the first time tomorrow. So it's really the first day of school for them, and how exciting that must be, you know, given all the frustration and all of the perseverance that we've all had to go through for this. At the same time, in trying to make sure we've given everyone choice, just a quick word to those families that are still going to be remote, that as a school district, our expectation is the quality of that program will continue to thrive to the best of our ability. That we're not just looking at the in-person only, and that's now the direction. It's really trying to make it clear for everyone that we're trying to provide the best we possibly can for all of our kids. The one caution that I would like to propose, though, I'm just looking, we have over 400 people on our call right now. We've got, as Dr. Malloy was mentioning earlier, Friday is a teacher work day, no school for our kids. Monday is a holiday, President's Day, a 4-day weekend for families. What's going to be critically important is the responsibility is now shifting from trying to get the plan in place to get our kids to school, to making sure all together, our staff, our parents, and our kids, that we're doing this as safely as possible so that once they're in school, we can keep them in school. So that's the masking requirements. It's those pre-school checklists. It's the testing that needs to be done. It's the social distancing. It's for families that might be considering going outside the area for the long weekend and what that might mean in terms of quarantining yourselves to make sure that those around you are going to be safe after this weekend. And so that we don't see a bump up in cases that could have to cause us through the health department to take some other chance and step. So I just ask everyone to please do your part to be responsible, to take the precautions very, very seriously so that we can keep our kids in a safe environment, whether it is remote at home or in the hybrid in place in school. That was really it. The only comment I really wanted to make. I really do want to thank the staff for getting us to this point. And I know there's a lot of families that are really excited. And particularly the work in the last few days to come up with some solution for the 6th graders for next week. We really look forward to seeing that happen. The one thing that after Dr. Malloy's comments, I would hope that the board members would join me in adding something to the recommendations before us to have Suzanne as our board president pen a letter to both county health department as well as to the state relative to priority for vaccines, as well as moving forward to get all kids back in school as soon as possible. That's it.
Right. Thank you, Ken. Yeah, no, I agree. Like I said, the community, right? Our communities have been great to get us to this point. So please, our community, keep us moving forward and getting all the kids back in school. So be careful. Okay. So I am going to, unless there's, Rachel.
Technically, we should have a motion before we start discussing. So can I move that we accept the recommendation as presented and then add on what Ken had just amended? He just gave the amendment before I gave the motion.
Okay. Yes. Anyone second?
I second.
Okay. Go ahead.
I second.
Okay. So Rachel, okay. Any more discussion? No, okay. So, so for, this is right for the letter. Okay, so Denise.
No, it's the
No, for the
recommendation and the letter, because it really should be one, I think it should be one action
okay.
because it's listed as one action.
Right. Okay, so Denise, can you help us with the roll call vote?
I can. We have a motion made by Board Member Hurd, seconded by Board Member Clark. Your vote, Board Member Clark?
Aye.
Board Member Bratt?
Aye.
Board Member Hurd?
Aye.
Board Member Mintz?
Aye.
Board Member Ordway?
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously.
Great. Okay, our sixth graders, get ready to go back on campus as well, for those of you who are scheduled to go in-person hybrid. Okay, next we have 10.3. Sorry, 10.2, proposed process to develop new strategic directions and renew our mission statement for the San Ramon Valley Unified School District. Dr. Malloy?
Thank you, President Ordway. I'm really excited to bring this forward. And I know that since I arrived here in July, we've been doing all the work that you've just been discussing. And while this is still an intense time, and maybe not always the easiest time to be thinking about the present and the future, I would like to ask for your approval on a process over the next couple of months so we can engage our community, clarify our directions, and allow this to be the foundation for our work in the district going forward. Next slide, please. So it is very important, I believe, as your superintendent, that we're clear about what is our mission and what are our strategic directions. And it's really important that this is built on the foundation of that which has already existed that should continue, but also thinks about what needs to shift or change going forward. And I think it's important that though you are the ones who make that decision, that what we do is informed by the perspectives of those in our community. And so by engaging in this process, it will provide a certain foundation that helps our work going forward. But I'm a big supporter of not planning to plan. And what I mean by that statement is sometimes we can stay in planning stages for so long that we actually don't get to the next steps of the work. So I am proposing something to happen in our district between now and June that would allow us to have the clarity that I'm speaking about. Next slide. So what I am proposing to you is that we start this process with a board workshop. This board workshop would be basically 2 3-hour sessions. It actually is one workshop. It's not 2 distinct ones because it's on the same topic, but it will allow us to really think deeply about instruction and learning, well-being, on a deep and important foundation of equity. And we heard some of that important invitation and challenge this evening. After that workshop, which would be for you, but our public would be able to observe, and of course, just like in previous workshops, offer comment, we would actually create a stakeholder engagement between the months of March and May. And we would bring to you at the March board meeting absolute clarity regarding what that process would look like for your advice, your insight, and your approval. The goal then would be to take everything we learn as we engage our students, our staff, our parents, guardians, and community, and bring forward a draft to you on June 1st for your insight, necessarily your approval. We take that insight back and return to you on June 15th with a statement, a mission statement, and a strategic plan that will propel, as I said, our work going forward. Next slide. So the recommendation I'm asking is that the board approves this recommendation of this process to renew our mission statement and our strategic directions, focusing on equity, instruction and learning, and well-being. supported by leadership development and service excellence. And let me explain those two components. Leadership development is not just those of us in formal leadership positions, but it's all of us who share our experience and expertise to support our students. Leadership is about creating the right conditions so improvement can happen. So I always believe that you can't do any work with mission and strategy without a leadership component. Service excellence is the responsiveness to our community, our focus on our students, the way in which we respond to each other, those of us who are staff working with you, our trustees. That type of responsiveness is a form of service that also, in my opinion and experience, is required to do this work effectively. So though the goal would be to building on that rich foundation of equity and instruction and well-being, we would support our students' learning. We also need to do that in the right conditions. And I believe we need to do that in a responsive way. So that's why I am framing this recommendation in this way. Next slide. So that is the end. Forgive me, I thought I had one more. But I look forward to your questions. I look forward to your approval or your adjusting, if necessary, this direction. But I do believe that this is really significant work for us. And though it may not be the optimal time, I think that it's important time. Because as we start reopening, I also think it's important to think just to the near future and beyond. And I thank you for your consideration.
Okay, any questions or comments from board members?
Go ahead, Rachel.
I just wanted to add that, Dr. Malloy, I really appreciate how concisely you put that all together and how I feel like it also segues perfectly with the priorities that were part of the superintendent's 4Us. He framed them as priorities, but I remember as we got to the last set of those, the way we focused on equity, instruction and learning and student well-being kind of coalesced really beautifully around the MTSS model. And I just think it really packages what our priorities have been and what they should be. So I'm very much looking forward to the continued work on this.
Okay, Ken.
Yeah, you know, a number of years ago, it's actually quite a few years ago now, we put together our framework of excellence for excellence. And it was really just a one-page document, not even a document. It really just showed the kinds of areas that we thought it was important for us to focus on as a district, and key elements in terms of, you know, when people would ask me, well, what's special about your district? And I'd say, well, you know, we really focus on our academics. However, things like critical thinking skills and collaboration and communication skills were critical. And how we look at the world relationships, very critical. So it wasn't just the rigor of our educational aspects, but the relationships that we built as well. And then we moved from our framework for excellence into the Lcap model that we've been on for several years now, which provided a certain level of planning, but really more from a tactical planning perspective. And Dr. Malloy, as you said, well, you know, maybe this isn't the time. No, this is absolutely the time that we should be making that next step. The importance of continuous improvement is something that I hope that our entire community can get behind and participate in this program when we do go out and ask for community engagement, because it really is something that we've talked about forever about as a great school district. We do not want to rest on our laurels. We really want to determine what are those next spots where we should be moving forward to. And I think some of the information that we heard even during the non-agendized item this morning, or I'm saying this evening, you know, really pointed to a lot of the holes that we still have to correct in our educational perspective, as well as, you know, what we're doing to create strong, successful students going forward. So I really congratulate you, sir, on putting this forward. I like that it's a not condensed, but clear plan of action, that we have an end date. It's not just planning for planning's sake, but really determining where our next steps should be, and look forward to us all participating in this process.
Shelley?
When I became a board member, when I was lucky enough to get this seat, this is the kind of work that I envisioned doing. And I'm so excited to have the opportunity. I walked into a situation where we had to put the priority on, and we needed to put the priority on getting our kids back in school and the plans to do that. But I want to thank you, Dr. Malloy, for bringing this forward now. I think it's exactly the right time. And I think it does address a lot of things that the district now in making our future plans that we need to address. So I'm excited to get started on it.
Yeah, and I also would like to echo Rachel, Ken, and Shelley in that I too believe that this is exactly the right time. I think we have an opportunity as a essentially a new board to be able to revisit the work that has been done to this point and develop it further, bring other voices into it, as well as take the experiences that we've had this last year. It's been a passionate kind of a year, right? And we've learned a lot. And so to take that and move that forward in a way that that is strategic and takes the time to really develop and dig deep into the issues at hand and come up with solutions and creative ways to address and to ultimately educate our students and create an environment for our students that allows them to just reach for their dreams. It's, this is why we do what we do, and why our community exists, is to be able to empower every student and to look at this in a way that from the top down, that we're able to set up a structure and a strategic direction and mission that allows for that. It's very powerful. And so I'm anxious about doing this. I'm excited about doing this. I'm grateful to be a part of this. I'm looking forward to it, and thank you for bringing it forward.
Yeah, I echo all four of my fellow board members. I mean, this is the perfect time. From where I actually work with higher ed, that whole education system has been turned on its side by the pandemic. I mean, everyone in education is taking a look now and say, oh, well, education is no longer what you remember as traditional education. And because this is a time where it has been disrupted, I think this is the perfect time to say, oh, well, then what should we keep and what can we just let go and change and move forward, right? Even in our school district, a year ago, we didn't have online learning, not really, but our great staff and district staff and on-site staff and teachers, right, really created something. So, and that's just an example. So yes, I think it's very, very much needed to really, from the top mission vision level, to see exactly where we want our district to move into, to keep our quality and high performance level, but of course, how we're going to do that, and we need our students, parents, staff input on where we want to take our school district. And we're not going into next century, but it's almost like that, because it has been disrupted, the educational, the whole educational, I guess, foundation. So thank you for bringing this to us. And I am also very excited to participate in this. So, okay, I guess, let's see. Now, okay, we got our chance to have our discussion and board questions. Now we need to, Greg, is there any public comment on this item?
Yes, we got a couple hands up there that went down. I want to remind people, if you wish to comment on this item, please raise your hand. We do have one call-in user. So call-in user number 1, we will unmute you. You'll have 3 minutes to speak on this board item.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I think it's always good to reflect on how we're doing. However, I want to caution that we are an educational institution. We're not courts, we're not governments. And I would like us, as you always remind me, when I speak, I should stay within the jurisdiction, so should you. In our new mission statement, it should be educational based. First of all, I would like you guys to please identify, where are the future jobs? Are they here in California? Are they here in United States? Or are they in China? Or are they in other places? If we are educating our children amiss from the jobs that they can possibly land in the future, we are essentially thieves because we're stealing their future. We're essentially liars because we're telling them this is what you need to do so in the future you can have a job. What I hear tonight is about equity, about social justice. Those are the things that need to be resolved by the governments, by the courts, not by education. Why are there people who advocate to fire white teachers and hire Black teachers or other color races just because for equity? Let me ask you this. If there is a community where everybody needs to come with $10, do you stop the community from forming by giving $8 to the $2 to form $10? Or do you tell the $2 to go make $8 or whatever? Those are not issues that we should be so concerned with in education. In education, your job is to make sure you teach Black children as well as you teach white children and yellow children and brown children, all to be able to master skills for their future jobs. That's your job. And I also please ask you to allow the community to provide input. So, you don't just get kidnapped by those people, who are highly advocative and who are highly trained, because they're like in the union, they have special training classes and they have maybe even ACLU training our high school students to do these kind of things. That is wrong. Please allow community, parents, property payers, after all, property payers, taxpayers are the ones who are funding the educational system. We deserve to have our voice heard. Thank you.
So at this time, we have no other hands raised for public comment.
Okay, great. Then may I have a motion?
I'd like to move staff's recommendation on this process to review our mission statement and our strategic directions, focusing on equity, instruction, learning, and well-being, supported by leadership development and service excellence.
I second that.
Okay, then Denise, can you take us through?
I can. We have a motion made by Trustee Mintz, seconded by Trustee Bratt. Board Member Clark.
Aye.
Board Member Bratt.
Aye.
Board Member Hurd.
Aye.
Board Member Mintz.
Aye.
Board Member Ordway.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, great. Looking forward to the workshops and the other direction. Okay, now 10.3. So consideration of approval of 3 new course proposals, Introduction to Data Science. Sorry, yes. And my story, your story, her story. interdisciplinary ethnic studies with emphasis on media literacy and the California perspective. And the third one is XR for social good. Debbie Pettish, right, will help us.
Good evening, trustees. I am here to share some information on those course proposals that Trustee Ordway just talked about. We are bringing them forward tonight for your consideration for implementation in the 21-22 school year. So next slide. So before getting too much into the nuts and bolts of the particular courses, I wanted to provide you with kind of a pretty broad overview of the process that a course proposal goes through before coming to the Board of Education. So first, really any certificated staff member can complete the paperwork, which is actually quite in depth, for a new course proposal. Typically, of course, it's teachers, but sometimes we do have administrators putting forth new courses. So first, the first step in the process is really to get approval from the individual department that the teacher is a member of, and then their administrative staff as well. So then they send the paperwork along to the secondary principals, and we spend typically at least 2 meetings discussing the merits of each of the courses. And then if they pass muster, the course is moved on to the Ed Services team and cabinet at the district level. So, and then of course it comes to the Board of Education. So there's quite a vetting process for these courses. And we really use a variety of lenses to examine whether or not we want to bring these courses forward to the Board of Education. Some of them I listed there in the slide. I think the most important one is really the extent to which these courses mesh with our district priorities. And not only our priorities, and Dr. Malloy, of course, alluded to this earlier in terms of really developing a robust mission statement going forward. And that includes, of course, not only the district as a whole, but also the curriculum and instruction department, right? What is really our vision and mission for teaching in SRVUSD? So once it goes through all those processes and we look at the courses through those lenses, we then bring it to all of you. So next slide, please. So we have 3 new, they're all high school courses this year that we are bringing for your consideration. The first one is XR for social good. The second one is data science. And the third one, and it's a mouthful, my story, her story, her story, interdisciplinary ethnic studies with an emphasis on media literacy and the California perspective. So the first course I'm bringing forward is XR for Social Good. And it is a year-long elective course that will be at least initially offered just at Doherty Valley High School. And it's really important to note that once a course is approved at the high school level, for example, oftentimes it is just taught, at least initially, at one high school. But once it's approved by the Board of Education, it can be taught at any of our high schools, of course. So this course is college prep, and it is not weighted. So what is it? So it sounds a little bit different than I think what we're used to seeing, right? So XR for Social Good. XR stands for Extended Reality, which refers, it's kind of an umbrella term that refers to all real and virtual environments that have been created through computer graphics. So as you can see, this we believe is going to be a wonderful addition to our curriculum, something that really complements well what we have. So the other component of this class is the focus on social problems and dilemmas. So really what this course is trying to answer is how can we use augmented reality, virtual realities to solve local social problems and dilemmas. So thank you. Next slide. So this is an introduction to data science course, which is a year-long math elective that we will be offering at one of our high schools, at least to start. Again, like XR for Social Good, it is college prep and it is not weighted. And the goal of this course is really to prepare students to live in a world where data is just everywhere. So in other words, how do students go about gathering data and information? How do they then go through the process of analyzing that data? How do they make meaning of the data? And then eventually draw conclusions based on data and evidence. So that's the focus of that particular course. And then we have this course, which I will refer to here on out as Ethnic Studies. It is a year-long social science elective that we do intend to offer at all of our comprehensive high schools in 21, 22 and beyond, and at Venture. So it is college prep and it is not weighted. And really the focus of this course, and it's so difficult to really explain in a short amount of time, right? Because really all of these courses are very rich. But this course in particular takes a look at the power, privilege, and agency in history through the lenses of race, ethnicity, gender, class, ability, and religion. So the focus here is really on the perspectives of traditionally marginalized groups, such as the African American and Native American communities. So what will students be doing in the course? Well, there's a wide range of activities that they'll be engaging in, including evaluating stereotypes that exist in our community, building media literacy skills so that students can better understand the myriad of information, either in written form or through the television or computer, really be able to evaluate that information through particular lenses. And then the culminating activity is students will be designing an action project that promotes both civic engagement and collective empowerment. And then finally, we did want to highlight that we do have a community engagement plan for the ethnic studies course. And as you can see, we had already started with really engaging our students in not only understanding and really promoting what the class is, but also really hearing from them about what they would want if this class does get approved. We then have parent groups that we have gone to or will go to in order to receive feedback. And one of the really the big reason why we felt we needed a community engagement plan was to, as you heard, of course, earlier in the meeting, our community has a lot to say about this topic and we wanted to listen to them. But also we felt it was important, the state is coming out with a model curriculum. It's expected to be approved by the State Board of Education in mid to late March. And we've already seen what we believe is a near complete draft of that in November. They might do a little bit of tweaking and then come back in March to finalize it. So what we really wanted to do is kind of take all of the feedback from our community into consideration along with the model curriculum that the state produces, kind of take all that, make sense of it, bring it to the staff for feedback, and then based on all of that, if the class is approved, then the teacher's planning it in spring and early summer. So those are our 3 courses, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you have.
Okay, great. Any questions for Debbie? Oh, okay, Laura.
Oh, sorry. I'm curious how, so with data science, you said that the high school hasn't been selected yet. How does that process work? I'm new to the board, so I don't know if this is a question that's already been answered in the past.
No, that is such a great question, Trustee Bratt. It kind of depends on the course. So for example, XR for Social Good was created by an extremely passionate, amazing teacher at Doherty Valley High School. And so it makes sense that she would probably end up, ultimately it's the principal's decision, but probably end up teaching the course. And then at least starting it off at Doherty Valley and then potentially growing interest. A class like Introduction to Data Science, that was a little bit different because it was really largely implemented, we're proposing it for implementation based on the work of our STEM coordinator. And we had done some work with the math teachers last year, some of the math teachers with regard to the data science course. And then the more that our new STEM coordinator understood it and learned about it, something that she really felt and I agreed would be a great complement to our current math curriculum. So then we've been having conversations with different teachers about whether or not they'd be interested in teaching it. So I hope that answers your question.
So it'll come down to interest at the school site level and opportunity and principal, kind of how it fits into the schedule, I guess, from a school site admin standpoint.
You're exactly right.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And then just to kind of clarify, I guess, the my story, your story, her story, that's essentially an ethnic studies class that will become that level of, or that type of curriculum that the state is potentially will be mandating, I guess, when
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And so the individual who created the course, who has really done a tremendous amount of work and put a lot of energy into it, she had evaluated a lot of sources in developing the course, including the draft of the model curriculum that was out in November. And they took feedback, but then we anticipate in March, it will be finally approved by the State Board of Education. So while the curriculum and the course proposal is somewhat formulated, we also really felt it was important to get the feedback of our community and wait till that model curriculum was formally adopted by the state. So that could also provide additional guidance.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I think I'm very excited about all three of these, and I think that the that data science, creating that pathway in math for the high schooler, especially in this day and age, I think is going to be really valuable for our students as they step out into the world with their, with their diploma, having that skill set and having that opportunity to have that pathway. And if they decide to, to go into more of a data science type of career. And then I think it's extremely valuable for us to have a really robust ethnic studies coursework at all of our high schools. And so I'm glad to see that be something that our district is on the forefront of, and really building out, and looking to our community for input, I think is going to be very valuable. So thank you.
Thank you.
Ken?
Yeah, I just want to ditto a number of Laura's comments just now. I think all three courses are incredibly important. It'll be a great addition. As she mentioned with the data science, data analytics is a large and growing topic. Do a lot of work with workforce development and identifying these kind of skills early on as pathways, as Laura mentioned, is incredibly, it's very, very timely. So the data analytics aspect of data science, the XR course, the virtual and augmented realities, another area that has tremendous possibilities going forward. And so getting our students, motivated in that area, but also just identifying where their interests might lie. And then, as we did hear from a number of our community members on the ethnic studies area, I think it really does demonstrate the working direction that the district is already going based upon the kind of comments that people are looking for. One of the things that really impressed me in the write-up on the ethnic studies course was the amount of time and energy that was put on by a lot of folks across the high schools, all 4 high schools and Venture, to really devise a course that's all encompassing. And it's going to be really interesting to see as it moves forward, and getting in front of what the state is doing with ethnic studies, because I know they've had a couple of blips in terms of trying to put something together. Debbie, I guess my one question on that is, who do you anticipate taking the ethnic studies? It's an elective course for 11th and 12th graders. From particularly students' reactions, how do you see the makeup of those courses?
That's a great question, Trustee Mintz. Well, we primarily see 11th and 12th graders taking it, since they have a little bit more room in their schedule to take electives such as these. And of course, we wouldn't run any class unless it's, any elective, unless students sign up for it, of course. But we do anticipate a lot of interest in this class. And there's already, as you saw earlier in the board meeting, there's already a lot of buzz around it. There's been a really big push in the state of California for ethnic studies courses, which is why they passed legislation to create the curriculum. And I sat in on one of the student sessions where the facilitators took the students through kind of like a mock lesson of what could be included in ethnic studies class. And those kids were so excited about it. And so the next step would really be for the counselors to kind of better understand it. And we've already done a little bit of that work. And so that they can really kind of better understand what the course is so that they can explain it to students. But we're already seeing a lot, our students are very interested in social justice issues, and a lot of the course will focus on that. So we're really excited and anticipating at least one section at each school.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And also appreciate the amount of forethought that's going into professional development training for our teachers as well, in preparation for offering those courses, particularly that one. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, other questions from board members? Shelley?
So the state is coming out with their curriculum shortly, you said. Will this curriculum that we're about to choose for our school district fulfill the state requirements for ethnic studies? Because at some point, I think I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, they're going to mandate this as a graduation requirement at some point down the road?
So they were considering that at one point. Last I heard, the governor did veto that, but I did hear that there potentially could be new legislation that introduced it as a graduation requirement. But as of right now, it's not, and it's not intended to be. So that's why we're anticipating one or two sections at each site. So we feel pretty confident. We feel very confident. Well, first, let me back up. When the CDE puts out a model curriculum, it's just that, it's a model. It's not standards that we have to follow for a particular course like Algebra 1. And it's not even a framework, which is really a guide to support teachers understanding how to teach the standards. It's really literally a model curriculum with sample units and sample lessons and sample reading materials, etc., that a district can choose to follow, but does not have to. But we felt it was important that the state has been working on this for a number of years, and feel like they are getting close to a true model, and feel that it will get approved in March. And so we did want to, we really want to make sure that we take a close look at the approved model curriculum before really making any final decisions about the course.
And so how
sorry, Shelley, sorry to interrupt, but I think we need to extend our time. and then you can continue. But let's extend our time. It's just a couple of minutes after 10. Extend it just in case to 11.
Yeah, let's do it so that we don't have to do it again.
I know.
We're not supposed
One
to.
would be good. No.
Yeah. So I'll make a motion to extend our time tonight until 11 o'clock.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Board Member Clark, second by Board Member Mintz. Board Member Clark, your vote?
Aye.
Board Member Bratt?
Aye.
Board Member Hurd?
Aye.
Board Member Mintz?
Aye.
Board Member Ordway?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, go ahead, Shelley.
So I just have one other question. Basically, how do you evaluate the success of any given new course? Is it just by the interest that the students have in it and the number of students that sign up for it? Or are there other ways that you evaluate after you have the course in place?
That's a great question. So there's a couple different ways. I mean, one of which, and I guess it depends on how you define success. And so one of the ways we define it is whether or not an elective runs. You know, you're exactly right in terms of looking at the number of students that sign up for it. And so that's obviously pivotal. And then really the second is, you know, we have to submit really essential standards and learning targets to the state system in order to get it UC approved. And so once we do that, then we of course have an established set of essentially goals that the course should be focused on, and then assessments that of course assess the extent to which students have met those goals. Now, ethics studies is a little bit unique because it's really, you know, part of a larger effort, right, in terms of equity. And so we haven't talked as much about how the success of that class, since it hasn't been approved yet. But I imagine student focus groups really important in order to kind of better understand, especially as a new course, the extent to which it is supporting students and providing them what they thought they were going to get when they enrolled.
Okay, thank you, Deb. Great job. I'm excited about all three of those.
Thank you.
Okay, Rachel, do you have any questions on there?
I don't have any questions. I wanted to hear the public comment before discussing.
Right. Okay. I just have a couple questions, and yeah, and then we'll go to public comment. Really just a couple for, the ethnic studies. So I know that in our write-up, right, the board packet, there were like a list of books. And I know that in the description, teachers will use like a lot of different types of media and resources. So it's not really just those list of books, right? But that list of books, that's also not required reading for the class. It's really just like part of like suggested reading. Okay.
Yeah, so those would just be samples. I mean, we haven't settled on anything, and anytime, of course, we purchase 10 or more of a particular textbook, we would bring that to the board for approval. I mean, we are anticipating that the course is really going to evolve over time and really change shape depending on the students that are in the course. And therefore, that's going to, of course, impact the curriculum materials that the teachers use for the course. And so it needs to be pretty fluid and flexible.
Okay, thank you. And then the other question really is, I was reading through, you guys provided a lot of information on this class, which thank you, to give us a little more understanding of what this means. And I just feel that, okay, I love that, it feels almost like a college course. It does, because there's going to be so much, I think, teaching of like how to think critically, right, of the students, things like that. But it also, I'm just wondering, how will we select and train our teachers? Because it also requires a lot on the teachers, seem to be their skill set, right?
It absolutely does. And so first of all, let me just back up a little bit and say there was a ton of work that went into the course proposals for all the courses. I know ethnic studies, the developers really did an amazing job. And so I need to give them absolutely all of the credit for doing the research, for getting the input over the last year, really, of our administrators, our teachers, our kids, et cetera. So as far as the teacher teaching the course, first thing is they do have to be a social science teacher. That's our current understanding. We are looking into that, but it is in a social science elective. So we're anticipating that it's someone that really understands social studies in depth. And then I feel like there will be additional training, and I've been talking to our fabulous equity coordinator, Ashley, about that. We haven't quite decided what that training will look like. There'll be a lot of collaboration. And we've also heard from several teachers who are really excited about the course and want to teach it, who've really been, you know, players in our equity, SRVUSD equity world for a long time. So I feel like there's already a pretty large subset of teachers in the district who have the knowledge, the experience, definitely the passion to teach something like this.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other questions at this time? Otherwise, we'll go to public comments on this item.
Yes, we have several hands raised.
Okay.
Again, if you wish to comment on this item, please raise your hand and we will call on you in turn. First is Mike Arata. We will promote you so you can use your video if you wish. You have 3 minutes to share your thoughts.
Okay, I'll unmute my mic. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay. It had to be unmuted at my end also. So I'm Mike Rod, as you heard. I'm tuning in this evening to recommend board rejection of the new course proposed as My Story, Your Story, and what reads as Hexer Story. I had to look up the approved pronunciation of the last word in that title. I discovered that it's the non-phonetic woke version of Her Story, the term more commonly used for skewed histories of radical feminism. Page 35 of 74 in this evening's posted agenda illustrates some of what's involved philosophically in this new course. The leading book among those listed as potential course material is Howard Zinn's A People's History of the United States. Board members may already have had a chance to read my 2017 East Bay Times article on that book, sent to you last evening as an email attachment. There I mentioned the FBI's 423-page FBI file on Zinn's communist affiliations. Zinn himself characterized his history book as disrespectful of governments and respectful of people's movements of resistance. That makes it a biased account, one that leans in a certain direction, unquote. Zinn considered the American Revolution as merely an artifice. It was designed to quash, quote, other potential rebellions and create a consensus of popular support for the rule of a new privileged leadership. And the Civil War was supposedly just another convoluted scheme in which Union soldiers, fooled by an anti-slavery aura of moral authority, fought and died to dim class resentments against the rich and powerful. And in Zinn's own words again, America's main interest in World War II was not stopping fascism, but advancing the imperial interest of the United States. Even prominent left-wing historian Michael Kazin, once the co-chair of Harvard's Radical Students for a Democratic Society, SDS, condemns Zinn's revisionism. He characterizes Zinn's 729-page book as bad history, unquote, with, quote, a premise better suited to a conspiracy monger's website than to a work of scholarship, unquote. Kazin considers Zinn's book to represent history as cynicism, as a polemic disguised as history. At least 7 of the other books listed for the course in this attachment in the agenda are recommended by the Zinn Education Project, and a quick Google Books perusal of all the texts listed also suggests a determined lack of balance. Indeed, the general theme is one of indoctrination and victimology, promoting centrifugal division rather than unity. These books appear to avoid the fact that genuine racism is found in expecting or requiring less of someone due to the color of his or her skin, what George W. Bush correctly called the soft bigotry of low expectations. The Zinn Education site itself promotes reparations, these days generally meaning payments to individuals who never were slaves by others who never owned slaves. For all these and numerous other reasons, the board should reject adoption of this course. Mr. Malloy earlier on in the evening said we should be respecting one another and working together. This course goes in the opposite direction. Thank you.
Next up is Taylor Dates. We will promote you so you can share your video. You have 3 minutes to share your thoughts on this board item.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. Hi, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. My name is Taylor Dates, and I'm also speaking on behalf of Anisha Patel, who's also on this call, but unfortunately we can't speak together. Anyways, we are two seniors from San Ramon, and we are here actually to advocate in favor of the advocate for the addition of the Ethnic Studies course into our district's curriculum. We acknowledge the work done by the district and PTSA members thus far in promoting inclusion, diversity, and equity. Within Ethnic Studies course, students can better understand the history of the world around us, and we think that with the addition of an ethnic studies course, it is so important, especially in this day and age. Anyways, Anisha and I are both heavily involved in equity and inclusion work in our school and throughout the district, and we really believe that many other students will benefit from taking this course. We have seen firsthand through our Student Equity Club, which we created this year, how important it is for students to be able to discuss and learn about topics that are not always touched upon in textbooks, such as the long history of mistreatment of Native Americans that we all should definitely know about living in California. We've been fortunate enough to have had teachers who are willing to stray from our colonized curriculum, a curriculum in which we are familiar. History is written by the victors, as we know. These teachers have completely transformed the lens in which we, Anisha and I, view the world, but not all students have had this opportunity. We believe that through this ethnic studies course, our student body can and will grow stronger through compassion, understanding, and empathy. So I urge you to add this course to our curriculum. It is totally optional for students to choose whether or not they want to take this course, but I think it is essential for them to have that opportunity. Thank you.
Okay, next is William Dong. Please mute your microphone. We'll promote you so you can share your video if you wish, and you have 3 minutes to speak on this board item.
Guys, can you hear me okay before my timer starts?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I need to comment on 10.1 because I wasn't here for that part and for the 10.1 public comment. And I just want to quickly share about this comment.
Now, William, I'm sorry, but yeah, I mean, 10.1's.
Yeah, I'll quickly share in 3 minutes.
We're past that. So if you want to comment on 10.3, you can comment on 10.3.
Yeah, I'll quickly comment on that and on 10.1 because they're kind of linked since I wasn't here earlier. So I'm William. I'm a graduate high school senior from Doria Valley High School. I just wanted to quickly comment on 10.3. I know I wasn't here for earlier part of the meeting as I'm a freshman in college at DVC and trying to take up my time in a day to advocate here to come here to a board meeting. So I just wanted to quickly let you know that I believe that those class options are wonderful for students, and I don't have any opposition to that. Regards with school reopenings, I just want to let you know that I'm thankful that you guys will start reopening schools tomorrow for K through 6 students, and we need to move way faster. And within the next 2 weeks, starting next Monday, we must reopen all schools for all 7th through 12th grade students and reopen schools completely 5 days a week by March 1st at the very latest. We're not going to take this anymore. We're not okay with and we are not okay with you guys delaying the reopening.
Okay, William, you're going back to 10.1. You've got to speak on 10.3 or else we can't have you speak. You have to speak on 10.3.
I'll speak for 1 more minute. I spoke about 10.3 and then quickly about 10.1.
No, but we can't have you speak on 10.1. That's past. We have to move on.
I know. So I have 1 more minute. So real quickly, I was saying that I need schools to completely reopen as soon as possible for those students to get them back to classes by early March at the very latest. And I just want to let you know that we need our senior events back and we need to have our Disneyland trip and our in-person graduation ceremony back. And we, as an alumni class of 2020 students, and we need students back in school 5 days a week by March 1st at the very latest, and we're just not going to take this anymore. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Matthew Hoffman. We will promote you, so you have 3 minutes to share your thoughts, and you can share your video if you wish.
Thank you. My name is Matthew Hoffman. I was wanted to talk about the introduction to data science class. I'm a data science professional. I've worked as a data science professional for 20 years now, running a business here locally in the Danville area that specializes in this exact line of work. I've also worked with universities in the area and hired numerous graduates from those programs into my business personally. So I have some firsthand knowledge on how some of these courses might need to be built out. And just looking at the way that this course is laid out, it looks very much like the UCLA data science program, which heavily favors a programming language called R. This is something that was very popular 10 years ago and is still very popular in academics. But in terms of actual industry usage, it's fallen out of favor dramatically in the past few years in terms of its usage. And in its place, been a language called Python has been taking over. And if you look at SRVUSD's curriculum in computer science in other areas, Python is something that's heavily used throughout the district. So it would make sense to perhaps change or look into perhaps dovetailing those two different areas to make a synergy here that might end up saving you in terms of teacher training and also broaden the appeal. To that, I think the requirement of just Algebra 1 and geometry is a bit low. Personally, I would look at this as being after Algebra 2. I know firsthand that students can run into, at the end of their high school career, run out of math options. And on top of that, there can also be students who don't necessarily want to go into the trigonometry and calculus route, that this might be very interesting for them to still continue to receive math credits without having to go down that other path, as well as for the people who have gone above and beyond and have run out of options inside of the district. So it would be nice to see some adjustments in that area, but aside, it looks great. Thank you very much.
Okay, next is Jennifer Schuen. You have 3 minutes. We will promote you and you can share your video if you so desire.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Schuen. I am a teacher at Dorothy Valley High School. And as a person who teaches Asian language and culture to our students, and as an immigrant to the USA, I welcome and appreciate the offering of an ethnic studies course in our school district. I support this course for the following 3 reasons. First, we need to recognize the existence, history, and the contribution of the various ethnic groups. The economic success of California is the result of all its residents. California is ranked as the world's 5th largest economy. All of the California's residents from the variety of ethnic groups contributed to the economic success of our state. In order to effectively interact with all the diverse and fast-growing ethnic groups, we need to teach our students the various ethnic groups' histories, cultures, and contributions that have led to California's success today. We need to prepare our students to be culturally competent professionals and citizens in the 21st century. Secondly, the ethnic studies course will help students become more socially and perhaps politically aware of the injustices in our communities. In California, 61% of residents are ethnic minorities and 37% are white. In SRVUSD, 53% of our students are minorities and 38% of our students are white. Knowing that more than half our students are people of color, and knowing the multiple racial instances in our SRVUSD community, an ethnic studies course is a necessity. Thirdly and lastly, we want to deconstruct the internalized ideas of unworthiness of our ethnic minority students. As a classroom teacher, I have firsthand observations of how our minority students view their self-worthiness in this Anglo-American Eurocentric white-based value system. This form of exclusion is limiting our students to what they are capable of and can create a sense of belittlement within themselves. I hope the board will support this ethnic studies course. I also hope minority students, parents, and educators can provide input to the content of this course under the course guidelines. Thank you for listening.
Next is Amina Syed. We will be promoting you, so you may share your video. You have 3 minutes to speak on this agenda item.
All right, hi, can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can.
All right, thank you. I'd like to start off by thanking the board and audience for your time. My name is Amina Syed. I am a senior and the ASB Equity Leader at California High School. I'm strongly urging you to approve the proposed Ethnic Studies course. As a student myself, the body that will be affected by this course, I understand the needs, culture, and reality of students. There is a great disconnect of SRVUSD students in the greater world we enter after graduation. This can be attributed to a lack of knowledge on the importance of being a good citizen and how to do so. The Ethnic Studies course helps address this issue by growing students' consciousness on the diversity of fellow human beings and their lived experiences. By placing equal value on these ideals as we do on academics, we will not only see a benefit in students' futures, but their present quality of life. Providing students with tools and knowledge to make better decisions when treating their peers and community will benefit and vitalize campus culture and climate. All of this and the promises made in the SRVUSD resolution denouncing racism and supporting equity, safety, and well-being of Black people will only be possible if we begin to take steps in the right direction, and I strongly believe approving this course is one of them. Thank you for your time.
Next is Amelia Breton Lake. We will be promoting you, so you will have 3 minutes to share your thoughts and your video if you so desire.
Good evening. This is the part that I actually came here tonight to talk about. So we all know that the Ethnic Studies course is important, but I want to talk about the equity for women and underrepresented groups by adding more to our computer science curriculum, particularly the extended reality course, as well as the data science course. 46% of women are more likely to pursue a career in computer science if they were offered a diverse computer science curriculum in high school. One of the keys to this is more courses that are interesting. Both of these courses fit that bill. Today, less than 10% of programmers are women. And as a member of Women Who Code and a volunteer with Girls Who Code, this is very, very important to offer these educational opportunities to girls who will be our future. Data science is one of the fastest growing careers in the country today. It's experienced 650% growth since 2012. This year, it's estimated that there are about 2.7 million open data science jobs and no one who is there to fill them. This is the perfect opportunity for our students here in the San Ramon Valley to learn a skill and go on. Particularly by helping women and underrepresented groups by fostering this in high school. Bringing those folks into careers in data science, extended reality, and other computer science disciplines generates diversity and innovation, helps to close the gender pay gap, generates more impact and more revenue for the organizations that they're a part of, begins to close the talent shortage, especially in areas such as data science and extended reality. So for future generations, the diversity of strength that these courses will offer to our students is very important. So I urge the board to please approve the data science extended reality as well as the ethnic studies course.
Next is call-in user number 1. We will unmute you, so you will have 3 minutes to share your thoughts.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I just want to point out just simple reality. The fact is the board has already voted. Doesn't matter what the public says. They didn't even bother to wait till after we have voiced our opinions. They just went ahead and voted. Thanks so much. I really feel respected. I just also want to point out the reality or perhaps hypocrisy of these courses called ethnic classes that are going to help women and minority and those people who feel belittled. Are you kidding me? Communist Chinese are the most self-confident people. They're so confident they claim that where I'm originally from, Taiwan, is theirs, or they're going to bomb us. They don't feel belittled. This course is really their way of trying to make the white people feel like they're the devils. Then let me ask you this. Why is it that they come to our country? Why is it that not a whole bunch of us are going to China? And let me ask you this. Are we even able to say anything bad about Xi Jinping? This is just such a lie. This is a lie. I also want to point out, if people don't know, the superintendent of California currently is a black man. And formerly, he wasn't in education at all. He was in politics. He was a California assemblyman for years and years and years. And he pushed democratic agenda that are so liberal. These classes are not classes. They teach nothing and add nothing to the skills of the students. How do I know? Because Ms. Petition repeatedly said, these classes are not weighted. They are not weighted. That means in an education system, they're not considered what is essential to the skills of the children in the future. What we need to teach is what is 5G. We should add a class about material sciences. This is what the Chinese are teaching their kids to come over here, so then we won't have any jobs someday, because they're the ones who are teaching the real knowledge and real education, and we're teaching augmented education, and we're teaching ethnic education. Good luck to my children who are raised in this district, who is out there with communist Chinese ideals to turn everyone into a communist instead of American, who I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, not to China. Please do not indoctrinate my children. Also, I have another concern. If there's not enough people to sign up for this, I would definitely be disgusted if the counselors go out there and make manipulated.
At this time, we do not have any other hands raised for public comment on this item.
Okay, great. Thank you, Greg. Just to actually the last caller's point on waiting, class waiting, only because I work with the colleges on getting our high school students right into college, that just because a class is not weighted, like non-honors or AP course, doesn't mean that there's no value. In fact, it's fine. Colleges are happy with unweighted classes as long as it is right for the student. Anyway, I just kind of to point that out. But you know, so we can discuss, but also before we do, I think it was Mr. Hoffman, right, who was talking about the data intro to data science, and whether or not it makes sense maybe to make some adjustments. Debbie, is that?
You know, I am so sorry, Trustee Ordway. Right when he started his comments, I got kicked off of the internet. I know that Christine Wahardo, or Assistant Superintendent Wahardo, though, did take some notes, as well as Chris George. So I can, you know, there's definitely room for feedback. And I heard just the beginning of what he said, and I believe that's his profession. So yes, we're absolutely, of course, amenable to taking feedback on the course content.
Yeah, no, I think that, again, if there's an adjustment, so that, I guess, you know, so that this intro data science class is not limited, right? Like obsolete by the time, right? We present it to students and things like that. That would be great. So maybe if you can reach out to him for his ideas and whether or not we can make adjustments to that one.
Yeah, Debbie, his key point was not to overlook the use of Python as a programming language for data science. So
thank you. Okay,
just
thank you.
that back.
And I will reach out to him. Thank you.
Okay, now we can discuss. Any comments? Oh, further questions? No.
President Ordway, I just think it's important to confirm that you haven't made a decision on this yet.
Oh, yeah, no, we haven't voted.
Right.
Yeah, we only.
Yeah, I'm just stating that from the perspective of you're following the right process, but I just think it's important to state that clearly that you haven't yet voted as.
Yeah, no, we have not yet voted. We just asked questions. Like, I think a couple of us might have made some comments, but yeah, Ken.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I did make some comments early on in terms of my appreciation for the work that was done in these areas and the value that I personally see in these courses. I do appreciate the input that we received from a number of the speakers. It made me think back when I was in high school and taking electives, history electives. I took modern European history. And at the time that seemed to be an important subject. And it's interesting, particularly as I was reading through the ethnic studies course, you know, the parallels to what we used to be teaching, you know, as a focal point in terms of, you know, the European centric type of history versus the potential impacts on, you know, where we're heading with ethnic studies. And so I appreciate the concerns that people raise in terms of making sure that you know, we're well prepared for teaching appropriate subjects in a course like this. But I have a lot of faith, given again what I've read in terms of the preparation that's been done to date, as well as the preparation for the teaching staff in terms of professional development included in that course. So I'm prepared to make a motion if my fellow colleagues are finished making their comments.
Actually, should we do the motion, right, and then discussion? Sure. Sorry, Rachel, I know.
I'm sorry, I can't see
she
Rachel.
Keeps reminding me. Yeah, so let's do the motion and then we can discuss.
Go ahead, Rachel.
But you can make the motion. Go ahead. We're supposed to make the motion and then discuss the motion.
Well, yes and no. It's back and forth on that one in case there's other things that don't fit based upon the conversation. I move approval of all three subjects.
Okay, I can go ahead and make my comments now.
It's only
wait a second.
Oh, second. I'll second it, and then. I would like to thank the Ed Services staff for bringing us 3 really excellent new courses. And I thought that the comments made by Amelia really kind of tied them up, how they all are equity and inclusion-oriented course proposals. And the ones related to computer science just clearly accentuated how we've been working on building out that pathway. And I really appreciated how she brought up that having a variety of courses that look more interesting than just straight computer programming can entice more students, male, female, or whoever, into that very growing field where they can have rewarding careers. I also wanted to comment on the ethnic studies course that I really appreciated the depth and the comprehensive write-up. Received some feedback from community members over the last week, and once I actually read the course proposal, I was so reassured, because I think the emphasis is on inclusion, diversity, critical thinking, the personalized nature of the course, and how the teachers would be expected to make the class meaningful and relevant to the particular cohort of students that they had in front of them, and just the opportunity for these children, these students, to learn from each other in this course. I mean, really is a college level course. I know my own kids saw courses like this when they went off to college and came home with just such a broader world perspective. I know some people may say, oh, you mean indoctrination, but I will push back on that. I don't think it's about indoctrination. I think it's about an openness to other people's views and a healthy discourse about what they're reading. I don't think a particular book is going to be read and then taken as this is how it is. It's going to be discussed and chewed on and written about. And I mean, this is just really amazing education. I think it's also very important to note the students that came forward in support of this, the students that spoke to this item, but also the students that spoke earlier in the meeting related to the petition. We heard loud and clear from the students that we visited last year who were part of Black Student Union groups that we need to do something here. We need to act. We need to create learning environments where they feel supported and like they belong. And related to what Ken was saying, I was thinking the similar thing when I was reading the course proposal, because back when I was in high school, our social studies, that you took, in the normal progression, we took Western civilization. And then nowadays our kids have been taking world history, right? It expanded to more than just the European continent. And then I think this is the next step beyond that to bring in far more of the culture and multiple perspectives in that study of history. So really, really rewarding to see these courses come forward. So thank you.
Great. Any other comments or questions?
I just want to say again that this is a great job by the teachers, the administration, various team members that have helped to develop these programming, and the students and parents, all the input that has kind of come together. And I want to, I guess, point out that I feel like these three classes in particular, and hopefully in the future there'll be more of these opportunities, they fill in and they make from what I understand. So for example, at Cal, my kids are at Cal, and there's global studies in 10th grade, and there's a social justice pathway. And so seeing this this ethnic studies course, this My Story, Your Story, Her Story, kind of fit into that 10th, 11th grade to kind of build out the social justice, ethnic studies, kind of create a more depth to that level of study that again brings them into that college level coursework. And then with data science, building out the math and bringing it a pathway into, a direct pathway to statistics, a pathway into computer science, and creating that XR for social good that as Amelia said, kind of creates more interest and allows students that maybe wouldn't realize that they had interest in that, and then they see, oh, I'm interested in social good, and now I'm gonna, and wait, I have interest in, kind of finding their path, right? And so creating these broader opportunities for students to be able to find their path, I think is really valuable. So I'm grateful and excited for our students.
Okay, Shelley, did you have any questions or comments or anything?
Well, I think everybody's pretty much, I can kind of echo what everyone else said. I do want to thank Deb Pettish and the team for bringing us such quality courses for our students as we go forward, and just appreciate all the work that they did.
Great. Yeah, and I think all three courses are really, really interesting to students too. And I mean, I work with high school students, mostly 11th and 12th graders. And I think that this will give them a lot more options, especially with the, all three courses, but especially with the two, the data science and, well, data science, because it's actually going to be count as a math course, right? So more options for math, because I have a lot of students who, yeah, they run out of classes that they are interested in, and they might not want to take the calc AB or BC or whatever, because they don't think that's the path they're going on, but they don't have another math. And I know that our Cal State universities are requiring kind of a fourth year of math, you know, so these students are like, oh no, or quantitative reasoning, I should say. And I think this, the data science and actually the computer science, the XR for good, for social good, would kind of round out and give them options, those students options. And well, and also the XR for social goods just sounds like a really kind of fun class, right? The computer, the virtual reality. But, and then as for the ethnic studies course, I totally agree with, we needed. I was one of the students that Jennifer Schren was talking about. I did not do high school here in California. So I was in Phoenix, which has a more white, student body. It was diverse, a little bit more diverse, but definitely less Asian students, because I was only like one of 5 or 6 in my high school. Going through high school in the social studies classes, English classes, whatever. I mean, I had a hard time with my identity because I didn't fit in, right? And the image that was portrayed as positive or strong or whatever, you know, all these positives didn't look like me. I didn't have anyone who I kind of looked up to and say, hey, you know, I can be like that. Not really, you know. It wasn't until college when I came to California and actually took some of the different classes, right? The ethnic studies and the different histories and different, and of course, you know, being around a little bit more of the Asian community. That's when I started appreciating my own culture. So I think that, yeah, just like our teacher, Jennifer Schren, had said, that I think this class may help a lot of our students who don't still feel like they see themselves in society, in societal leadership roles. So yeah, and I think that the course, as I understand it, and that's what my question earlier with regards to the, you know, the resources used and things like that, it's really just to start discussion, start conversation, right? And have the students drive the discussion, and not the teacher saying, this is what you have to be or feel or think or believe, but actually open it up for more exposure to different cultures, different perspective. And I think that makes a better human being. So thank you for all 3 courses. I think we can probably go on to a vote now. Let's see.
Okay, we had a motion by Board Member Mintz, seconded by Board Member Hurd. We're ready to vote. Board Member Clark.
Aye.
Board Member Bratt.
Aye.
Board Member Hurd. Board Member Hurd.
Aye.
Thank you. Board Member Mintz,
Aye.
Board Member Ordway.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously.
Great. Okay. So, good. And we don't extend any time. Okay. One more item though. Okay, couple more items. 11.1 board member reports. Any board members having any reports? Shelby.
I just met this week with the Parcel Tax Oversight Committee, and they're preparing their report for the year, and everything went well. And it's a great group of people, super smart. And I was happy to see that the work that we did while I was on the committee is still being used, and we should be hearing from them soon.
Right. Thank you. Anyone else? Laura?
Yesterday, I had the pleasure of going to Pine Valley Middle School, a site visit, and Principal Cantillas showed me around, and her staff showed me around, and I got to see the specialized small group classes. She talked to me a lot about the success that they're seeing in those students, and how grateful she is to see that this is an option for the students, and that really is having a direct impact on those students that maybe have specific needs, whether it's with mental health or, even just having Wi-Fi and whatnot. So it was a very informative visit for me, and I'm grateful that I had that opportunity. I also want to take a minute to say thank you to all the custodial staff. I saw them working diligently, and as she explained the process, it's a lot of work, and it's something that I think there's some of our unsung heroes in the school district, and I think it's important to say thanks. And then at the end of January, I am the liaison or one of the liaisons, Rachel and I, for the Community Advisory Committee for the school district SELPA. And just again want to thank Norlin Giles and Katie Reese for the warm welcome, and it was a very informative meeting, and my understanding is that they're always looking for special education stakeholders to join them in that committee, and it's an opportunity for your voice to be heard. So I just wanted to make that announcement as well. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Anyone else? Ken?
Yeah, just real quick, last week had an opportunity to sit in on the Budget Education Committee. A good conversation about declining enrollment and where we're heading and how we deal with that. Tomorrow, looking forward to the opening of school for those TK through second graders, GSA forum on Thursday evening, and emergency preparedness committee that I represent us on Friday. So I'll provide some feedback next meeting on those.
Great, thanks. Rachel, do you have anything?
I just have one more to add, that the traffics program is looking at how it's going to resume service to get students at the schools that it serves rides to school now that we are reopening, and they've been kind of on pins and needles to get started, and now that it's a go, we do have a meeting next week to formalize that. So that's exciting. Great.
Yeah, the only thing for me besides, yes, really excited for reopening of schools tomorrow, that I'm actually, and usually I think several of us would be invited, I think, to the Bay Valley Chinese School. Bay Valley Chinese School is hosting their Chinese New Year celebration, because Chinese Lunar New Year is this Friday. So yeah, so they have a virtual celebration, and it's really, really cool because both my daughters, when they were young, they went through Bay Valley Chinese School, which is which they hold the school Friday evenings, when it was in person, Friday evenings at our Charlotte Woods Middle School. So we have a great partnership with them, and I'm going to be attending that. So that's it for me. So, and then Dr. Malloy, do you have superintendent's report?
And I'm going to be very brief, and I'm not sure if any of our public who are concerned about these things are still with us at this hour, but I want to clarify for the trustees that in terms of the testing question that we were asked, one piece of work we're going to do tomorrow is this. It is our understanding that the type of surveillance testing we do only indicates that someone needs to go to their medical provider or to the county provider to take the test, which is part of our protocol, which then of course would be reported and recorded. We're going to confirm and clarify that that is actually the accurate understanding. We'll figure out a way to communicate that more widely, because clearly I'm also doing this publicly because as the emails come in, I want anyone who's listening to know that that is a concern from our community, and we will clarify and figure out how to communicate that. Because even though to Greg Medici's comment about the positivity rates versus the cases per 100,000, it is accurate that the positivity rate is incorporated into the tier system. So that's why the question, and that's why we need to clarify how our surveillance testing is used. We will do that tomorrow and we will get back to everyone. Secondly, because again, I know tonight we tried through Trustee Hurd's questions to me, and I tried to provide comment. I'm going to share it here because we're not going to be able to continue to write back to this question. So I will use this example, and Denise Jennison is on this meeting, so she'll use this from our communication department. On page 21 of the California Department of Public Health requirements, it speaks to what I said about cohorting. And it goes so far as to say that if we were to break that rule, I would have to be ready to speak to it. The public health officials, page 21, and it says, and I quote, "Under no circumstances should distance between student chairs be less than 4 feet." So we've always been saying 4 to 6 feet here. I'm only sharing that one more time because, again, I know some of our community feels that this is wrong, and I understand that they want it changed. And I know that you as a board have always been supportive of getting our kids back to school, and you want us to do it as safely as possible, which includes following these requirements. But page 21 speaks to what must be done. But I'm going to go one step further because I'm sure some in our community might be aware of this. Any schools that opened up in the fall, and I know that that is a concern for some of our community that we didn't, if their arrangements in the classroom, because this is a call I made because I wanted to understand, they can appeal this rule and potentially open up with more kids in the class as long as they were open from the fall. It's an appeals process. It's not a sure thing, but I'm stating that to you as our board, and I'll figure out a way to communicate it to our community, because there may be a few schools that we hear about that have 26 kids in a class, and they would have had to pass through this appeal process as I understand it. But again, page 21 speaks to that requirement. If advocacy is necessary, it's not about keeping kids out of school, but there are state rules, and that's where I hope people will take their voices if they truly believe that the science that they are connected to different than this must change this, okay? So I'm only stating that because I thought I was really clear, and the emails I'm getting says that it wasn't clear enough. And so I think we're gonna have to reach that point where we understand the concern. We're gonna do everything we can for our secondary students. We have to follow the rules, and we could provide our advocacy as appropriate as we move forward. And last but not least, I love the fact that we're hearing from our staff members. I'm hearing even from a few students, from our community, that tomorrow is an important day. It's a big day. It's an exciting day. And I've been told that I need to be present at 7:15 in the morning tomorrow at one of our schools, which I will be. For those of you who know me well, I'm a late owl, so this is going to be a challenge, but I am so excited to get up early in the morning and be out in our schools tomorrow. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, with that, I think we're going to adjourn for tonight. Thank you.